or turn them off completely so we're not interrupted. I'll just go over a little bit of our process for those of you who haven't been here. Presenters, after the clerk reads your case, will come up to this podium here. Please remove your mask. We've got an incredible amount of background noise up here, so it's going to be hard for us to hear you in general. And if you could really speak up and also speak into the mics, because we have Danvers cable coverage as well. Any members of the public that would like to speak on a case will come to this microphone over here, and we ask that you kind of keep the flow, I think is what we're asking people, is to come across and return to your seats that way. In between cases, we'll have the Code Administration Department wipe down microphones and surfaces to keep everybody safe, and we hope you are all safe. I will start by introducing our board. We were holding up, one of our members is en route right now. To my right is Bob Signetti. Tonight, clerking will be Becky Kilborn, myself, the chairman, John Bowner, and our two alternates, which will sit on cases until our other member shows up, Ken Javinian and Corinne Doherty. From our Code Administration Department, we have Rich Maloney, our building inspector, and we have Kathleen Archibald, who's our secretary, and I think Dave Harris is here somewhere. I saw him, there he is, rock star in the back there. Just to go over our procedures a little bit, we've got a lot of cases on our plate tonight, so we're going to try to move efficiently and hope we can get them all in. We will not start any cases after 10:30, so if it gets going lengthy, we will cut it at that time. I'm sure you guys don't want to hang out here until 11 tonight anyway. After the clerk reads your case, please come up. Everybody identify yourself, whether you're public or here to present a case, and your address for our minutes. Once you're done presenting the case, the board will then ask questions of you. And at that point, I will turn it over to the audience for public comment, if any. And then we'll come back to the board for deliberations. And at that point, we ask you not interrupt us. As a public meeting, you're here and you can hear our deliberations. We don't go in a closed room or anything. So, but we ask not to be interrupted with questions, especially from presenters. And at that point, you can hear where the board's leaning on your case, and we'll give you kind of an idea of whether you have enough votes to get your case by, and we'll present you with your options and whether or not you want to continue your case, withdraw your case, or it'll pass. So we have minutes, board members, from our September 14th meeting.
A motion to accept.
I got a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I second.
And any further discussion? All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Okay, and I think that's it. Clerk, Ms. Clerk, if we could read our first continued case.
Okay. We're going to start with the continued cases at the bottom, and then we'll go to the top of the agenda. The first case is Mark Spear, docket 20-4874, appealing the building inspector's decision regarding a variance from, did you want me to start, I'm sorry, with the other one?
Yeah, no, that's good. 55
Okay.
Wyndham's good.
Okay. Appealing the building, Mark Spear appealing the building inspector's decision regarding a variance from April 7th, 1975, docket 0-1025, in accordance with the Danvers zoning bylaws at 55 Wyndham Street, zoned R3.
Somebody here on this case. You guys could come on up to this mic here.
Now, what do you want me to do with this? Read this, or?
Yeah, geez. Hold up one second, guys.
Huh? Or summarize it?
Yeah. So we were, so Mr. Spear, just to kind of bring you up to speed, our building inspector provided us with a letter from our building inspector in 1986, in which there was, a violation at that time, which was not appealed. And our clerk's going to read kind of a summary of that letter into the record right now.
Just tonight.
This is to Oscar and Natalie Spear, dated April 1st, 1986. From Peter Bryson, the Inspector of Buildings, Code Administration. This is regarding a visit to the site February 26th, 1986. On April 7th, 1975, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted a variance to allow for the use of the land and building located at 55 Wenham Street for intermittent storage, subject to 4 conditions as follows. These are the same 4 conditions that we talked about at the last meeting, so to keep the area neat and orderly, that not be used as a base for a business, that the outside storage be limited to 2.5 times the floor area, and that there shall be no work or loading carried on except between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday, and no signs shall be permitted. He goes on to describe what his inspection revealed. And then I'm not gonna read the whole thing, it's pretty long, okay?
We just got it
And
tonight,
then
too, so.
we can go back if we need to. And then it says, in view of the above and in accordance with the application and subsequent zoning board of appeals decision to grant the variance, it is my opinion that the present use of the property is in violation of this decision as follows. Condition number 1 required that the area be kept neat and orderly, and in my opinion, the yard does not comply with this condition. Also, the approval was limited to storage only, and the workbench and associated tools and equipment in the B&B tenant space indicate the equipment repairs are occurring in this space. Condition number 2 stipulated that the premises not be used as a base for a business, and the application was for intermittent storage, meaning periodic stopping and starting. In my opinion, the use of the premises violates these 2 criteria, considering the daily activity observed. Additionally, the very same applicant was denied a variance for 41 Locust Street, and it is my opinion that a similar variance was required for 55 Locust Street to allow this occupancy for anything but storage. Condition number 3 limited the outside storage to 2.5 times the floor area of the building, or approximately 11,200 square feet. The entire area to the rear of the building in question, excluding the driveways, being used for storage, which measures approximately 97,400 square feet. And condition number 4 limits the hours of use for loading and unloading from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. I'm not aware of any violations of this provision, however, I will monitor for compliance. In view of the above, as Inspector of Buildings responsible for enforcement of the zoning bylaw and decisions rendered by the Zoning Board of Appeals, I hereby order you to immediately take the necessary steps to comply with the conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals cited above. And then should you have any questions, and that's from Peter Bryson. I think we should just ask the building inspector if he wants to.
Yeah. 1 second on that. So, Mr. Spears, so, you know, this letter was written in 1986 by then building inspector, was not appealed at that time. So I just want to, you know, be clear on where we're at with everything. So my assumption is that the property came into compliance at that time in 1986. And, you know, when I look at this whole thing, right, I mean, the spirit of the zoning board decision back in 1975 was not where we're at today. So I think that's why you're before us. I think that's why the building inspector has, you know, written the letter he has, and I'd like to go out to the building inspector, see if he has anything to add to that. Hi, Jeff.
No, again, we don't debate the conditions of the original variance, but it seems like those conditions that were violated in '86 are the same ones we're talking about right now. So we don't dispute that the storage out there is allowed, outside 2.5 times the floor area of the barn. And again, intermittent was submitted by maybe his grandfather, Evan Griffith, in the original letter, which is included in that package. We don't deny that, but I think what's happened is what happened in '86 is this place is getting very busy. People are coming and going. I wouldn't call that intermittent by the complaints we have. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and again, you know, I mean, we're here because you are in a residential neighborhood, and in 1975, the zoning board at that time said, okay, we're gonna let you do this. And so I think the spirit of it's pretty clear, at least to me, and I think most of the board members. So, with all that said, where are we at right now? And let's see if we can sew this up.
I'll try to address that.
And please, again, be loud, because we're having a hard time hearing.
Holy cow.
Okay, I got a couple things to say about the letter from Mr. Bryson. First of all, it cited conditions that existed
You're
in
gonna
that.
have to speak right into the microphone, because we can't hear
The
you.
conditions cited by Mr. Bryson in 1986 existed in 1986. The use of the property, or the tenants that occupied the property, were not the same tenants, not a single one, that is there today.
We agree with that.
Okay, and I think it's a fair assumption, although it is only an assumption, that they came into compliance, and that's why there was no appeal. So I think the absence of an appeal has no significance on this proceeding before the board now. We have the building inspector's letter of, I think it's July 9th, I'm not sure the date, which brings us here today, and that cited certain violations. And we came before the board 2 weeks ago, and with what I recall to have been the approval of the building inspector, agreed that we would move all of the outside storage behind the barn, the block building, and that has been done. One of the tenants has left the premises. That would be the North Shore Tree Experts. They're gone completely. So now we have Amway.
They've already left?
They're gone, yeah.
Okay.
And everything they had there is gone with them. So everything is now behind the barn, except I think maybe there was a stone wall corral, which was probably constructed by T&T Excavating, and it had some crushed stone in it. And because we're before the Concom, and that may be within the buffer area, the removal of that, we think, and I don't think the Concom disagrees with us, needs to be addressed in terms of an order of conditions. But that'll go too. So the only storage outside is going to be, and already is, except for what I just mentioned, behind the building. Now, Mr. Bryson's interpretation of the zoning ordinance, not the zoning ordinance, the variance, as allowing intermittent storage, I submit as an incorrect interpretation. The appeals court in Massachusetts in 2010 issued a decision that said the conditions of the variance, those 4 conditions, are the only restrictions that can be enforced by the town of Danvers on the use of the property. There is nothing in those conditions that uses the term intermittent. And the appeals court decision is clear on that. What the variance says those 4 conditions are, and only what the variance says those 4 conditions are, not the basis for the application for intermittent storage. That is what governs the use of the property. Our position is that there is storage of materials and equipment, which is permitted by the variance. Our position is that we are now occupying less than 2.5 times the square feet footage of the building, which is not 11,200 square feet, as Mr. Bryson believed. It's 15,200 square feet. That's just a math issue, and it's indisputable. We are not alleged to have been doing anything between the hours outside of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. It's not an issue. The only other thing that I think was cited was use as a base of a business operation, and we may differ on that legitimately, but because the variance doesn't define what the term base of operations means, there is a well-settled principle in the law that if a statute or of a regulation or an ordinance doesn't specifically define a word, that it's being applied. And I would say that the analogy here is the use of the word in the condition base of business operations. They don't define that. The board did not define what a base of business operations is. So the law requires that the plain and ordinary meaning of those words be what is used to interpret what that condition means. And the only source we have of the plain and ordinary meaning of words, in the absence of any specific direction by the enforcing authority in that variance, or the court in a decision, or a statute, if they don't define it, you look to the dictionary. It sounds silly, but I think it's a concept we can all understand. That's where the plain and ordinary meaning of words that we use are found. And our position is, according to the plain and ordinary meaning of base of operations, it's defined in Webster's as home office, main office. And at the last hearing, we discussed a whole host of activities that take place off-site by the people who have the business that are renters up here. And it's not a base of business operations as far as we're concerned. The storage is behind
Well, let me interrupt you, just so we can move along.
Sure.
I think we heard from enough neighbors to contradict that, right? That there is lots of noise, there is lots of activity outside of the hours of operation that we're all agreeing it's supposed to be there, right? 7 to 5. And again, when I read this, decision, again, I'm looking at the spirit of this, okay? We can get into the minutia for hours, but you're in a neighborhood, and the neighbors, they're not making this up. That's the way I look at it. But we're here to look at the merits of the appeal, and that's what this board's gonna either uphold the building inspector's citing of you, or we're gonna withdraw, or, we'll vote against it. So with that in mind, you've updated us to tell us that a tenant has left. What else has changed since our last meeting? And if we can just summarize it, and then we'll go to questions, and we'll see if we can get this moving.
In response to questions and issues that were raised by some of the neighbors with regard to traffic, which we believe results from the use of the driveway at 41 Wenham Street, more so than it does 55. Mr. Spear has asked all of the 3 remaining renters to refrain from using anything other than the driveway to 55 to access the storage area behind the
So
building.
were they using 41 prior to this?
We don't know for sure,
know.
but,
Okay.
but yes, we believe they were.
Okay, so that activity we feel has come to an end.
We've,
Okay,
from
so that
at
was
least
another
with
change, so we've lost a tenant, we're telling our tenants not to use 41 Wenham.
Right.
Anything else?
Yes. Mr. Spear has asked, T&T is really the company that we're here talking about today. I think we are anyway. He's asked them, and they've agreed, to do their loading and unloading and getting their materials ready for the next business day in the afternoon, not in the morning. He's also asked them, and they've agreed, to not idle vehicles on the property, another complaint that was raised last time we were
Which
here.
I think will make the neighbors a
Yes.
lot happy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know what would make them fully happy other than cessation of all activity. But we have this variance that allows these things. And I think
Understood.
we may be stuck.
But I don't think you'd want to live next to idling trucks, and neither would I.
Well, and I totally agree. I think Mr. Spear agrees as well. And to the extent that he can control these people, he has asked them to stop. And if it continues, and it can be documented, then he can tell them to leave, and they'll leave. Get some less, perhaps less noisy activity on the site. But storage of materials and equipment and loading and unloading is going to create some noise. And I think we can all agree that those activities are permitted by the 1975 variance. It's the degree and the timing, and we understand that nobody wants to listen to trucks, being loaded in the morning. The sound of rocks being dumped into an empty dump truck can sound like a thunderclap.
Well, and again, I don't think it's just a problem on Wenham Street, right? I have it in my own neighborhood where we have trash trucks come to a memory care facility on Summer Street prior to 7 a.m. So, it's a quality of life issue that nobody wants to deal with. But if Mr. Spear's tenants are doing it after 7 a.m., then to me, that is the spirit of the decision that's on the books. But
I wasn't aware that.
6:30 a.m. Or 5 a.m. or on Sundays is not acceptable. So I think we can all agree on that.
We
correct?
can, and this is the
Okay.
first time I've been made aware that anything has taken place other than between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Well,
Right
again,
now.
I think we heard from the neighbors last time, and I think they were pretty clear. So with that said, do we have anything else to present? And if not, I'm going to move it along for questions.
I don't. No, I think we done, Mr. Spear, do you have anything?
Okay, thank you. And Kathy, I'm going to have, Jeff will sit in on this case as well, and I'll have Corinne. And then we'll just alternate between Corinne and Ken Chivini. All right, I'll start down there with you, Bob.
Seems to me at the last meeting, you and the building inspector were gonna get together and work something out. I guess it didn't happen. You didn't work it out.
Well, I thought we did. We did what we were asked to do at the last meeting, everything.
I didn't hear a word you said.
I think we did, I thought we worked it out. Mr. Spear immediately undertook to do everything that needed to be done, that was stated by the building inspector needed to be done to satisfy the issue. The things that I described when I first began to speak.
Then why are we here?
Because I think it was continued to tonight to determine, it's my understanding, whether or not those things that we promised to do were actually going to be done and were done. And the truth of the matter is, they were done.
I'd like to talk to the building inspector.
Yeah, sure, Bob. Hey, Rich? Mr. Signetti has a question for you.
Go ahead.
At the last meeting, you were gonna get together with the applicant and try and work things out. Is it my assumption that didn't happen?
We had an option to go out and just kind of look at, behind the barn. We never made definite plans.
We can't hear you.
I can't hear a word you say.
Can you hear me now?
Can the board speak into their mics also?
All right, we'll try.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
We discussed it, we never made definite plans. Put it that way.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Becky?
So, I was there today, late this afternoon, and also this morning, and there's now a tractor-trailer body sitting there with no cab on it. What is that?
That's a trailer that is owned and maintained at the site by Agway, contains wood shavings.
So that's part of your storage?
Yes.
Is a
It's
tractor-trailer
outside.
body?
It's just a container.
And there's a
It's-
truck that's also being used for storage, it looks like? Maybe? Yes?
The little white truck there?
Yes.
That you saw, yeah, that's an old truck Agway owns that.
So the old Agway truck, the body of that is being used for storage?
Yes.
And then this brand-new tractor-trailer that's sitting there?
The 28-foot tractor trailer has shavings in it for like horses and stuff, part for their corrals.
And that's part of your
Outside
storage?
storage, yeah. That's part of the
Okay.
14,000 square feet that we can use for outside storage.
How are we supposed to identify what area you have for storage?
I can answer that. It's the area directly behind the building. I think one of the things that was discussed and we agreed to do was draw parallel lines on the sides of the building all the way back and confine all of the outside storage to the space between those lines. And that everything that you've seen up there now is between those lines behind the building, occupying less than 15,200 square feet. And there's equipment. I would submit that the vehicle and the trailer are equipment, which are permitted by the variance.
So it's your opinion that you could put anything in that area? Trucks, rocks, stone dust, anything?
Not anything, materials and equipment. Materials are things from which other things are made. That's the dictionary again. I looked at it tonight and
Okay.
last week.
All
And
right.
equipment are things that are used in making things and doing things and conducting operations. So materials and equipment, that's what we've got up there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. We'll go to you, Jeff.
I have no questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken?
Has there been any of this business going on the weekends, or has it been just Monday through Friday?
There was occasionally on a Saturday with a tree company, but they are no longer there anymore because of that.
Okay.
That wasn't allowed, so that's, they
All
were
right,
asked to
yes.
leave.
All right. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ken. Corinne?
you stated that you're waiting on the Conservation Commission. Have you actually been to a hearing in front of that board?
Yes, on the 24th.
And what happened during the hearing?
Basically, they asked us to have a survey of the wetland done because they don't have an accurate survey to tell them for purposes of enforcing any wetland laws with respect to this property, where the wetland is and where the buffer is. So we agreed at our expense to have Hancock Survey map the area and provide the Concom with the information that that mapping brings us by the next hearing. I'm not sure what the date is. I think it's 2 weeks from the 24th. The 8th of October.
And then at that time, are they going to determine if that structure that you mentioned needs to be removed?
They're going to determine whether there is any activity, and I would suggest that that existence of that structure is activity within the purview of the Conservation Commission. And if there is any activity within the buffer zone as mapped that needs to be discontinued, we would submit to the Conservation Commission a notice of intent to do whatever we had to do to clean the area up. And then the process would begin up there, and they would issue, if they agreed that we could do it, an order of conditions governing the manner in which we would comply with the wetlands protection law with respect to those items still up there. But we can't take them out now because they may be within the wetland or the buffer zone. They're going to go, but we've got to go through the Concom to do that.
And how long has that structure been there?
How long is what?
How long has
stone
that
wall.
structure been there?
Which structure?
There's a little, there's a
The concrete structure?
corral.
Oh, 20 years.
Okay. Okay, no further questions?
And so there's a plan to get your lot surveyed?
Yes, it is.
And is there a timeline on that?
I contacted them Friday, Hancock Services Associates. I called them again this morning. They haven't called me back. They were trying to get out there sometime this week to have it surveyed for the wetlands.
And so you're continued with Concom, and?
Yes.
And when's that next meeting?
October 8th is the next meeting. But they want the survey company to come, so hopefully they can get it done before then. If not, we'll probably get to the next meeting.
Okay, any additional questions from the board?
No, there's a guy out there, though.
Yeah, no, so I'm gonna go back to the audience, but please, we heard your issues before. If you have new things to add, please, just the new things. I think we're pretty clear on what was going on before. So just a show of hands if you wanna come up. Yep, right here.
So essentially,
If you could remove your mask just to help us, thank you.
I had indicated on the
Please,
15th,
can you identify yourself?
I'm sorry, Kevin James, I live at 39 Winter Street.
Thank you.
I am the abutter. The property or the activity was located right on the line. Ultimately, since the last hearing, it was moved probably about 175 yards to where it was supposed to be, and that is behind the buffer. The activity remains the same. You know, the chairman's, back in 1975, the board that consisted of Mr. Banks, Mr. Romeo, Mr. Tucker, Harrington, Teal, and Andrea Daly, back in 1973 to 75, their spirit was not to make this thing a construction yard. Okay, so essentially what's happened since the last time the board was here was they moved the construction yard from the property line near my property to where it was supposed to be. That does not get us as abutters to where we need to be. It is still the bank, it is still the clashing, it is still the removal of shovels, the transfer of gravel and so forth. That is a construction yard, and that's not what the spirit in 1973 entailed. It's not supposed to be a construction yard. I can assure you that as long as it's a construction yard, as long as you have T&T construction coming in, not with little trucks, but with big trucks, big pieces of equipment, it doesn't matter what hour they're there, it shakes my property. Mr. Spears has indicated, we're on a ledge. We share the same ledge. So what happens 150 yards from here, essentially before that baseball diamond out there, that's where he moved it, from where you're sitting to where the baseball diamond is. Doesn't make that much of a difference for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here on 55 Wenham Street?
Bill
Okay.
Bradstreet.
Oh, yeah, come on up, sorry. Yeah.
Bill Bradstreet, town meeting member, precinct 1. Through you, could the building inspector answer a question? When a variance is issued, this one is 1975, is there a sunset clause in there? Or a time period that when the property changes hands, if it does, the variance ceases to exist? If someone buys the land, they have to start all over again to see if they can get a variance to operate what they are looking for a variance for.
I'll let the building inspector answer that, but I believe it's grandfathered if I'm
The
not,
variance runs with the property.
yeah, it stays forever.
It's an obvious-
Doesn't matter who the owner is.
Obviously, that needs to be
That's why we're
changed.
under so much pressure up here to make these decisions.
That's why it needs to be changed. I don't know what else to say other than I'm sympathetic to the neighbors
Sure.
to this operation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else on 55 Wenham? None. Okay, we'll come back to the board. So board, I'll just remind you, we're here to decide whether to uphold the building inspector's
Mr. Chair.
appeal.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sorry.
just, we could, again, we did not have the time to get to town council. We pulled this stuff out of the file, and, again, the board just got this tonight, as did the attorney. Everybody just got this tonight. And, the next hearing is the 19th, and we can get town council's take on, the attorney keeps citing the 2010 appeals court decision. Is that correct?
And that would allow time on Concom as well?
Yeah, you could get a reading on the
Okay.
Concom by then, hopefully.
Well, why don't I poll the board and see if that's...
Can he just say that, can you
Yeah,
say what he said?
Yeah, I believe, and stop me if I'm wrong, Rich, he's basically saying we can get an opinion from town council based on both the 1975 decision and I guess what's going on today, as well as give time for a Conservation Commission to do their review, and that we would continue this pending that information. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Hi. And I didn't even hear a word you said.
Makes sense to me, if that's
You go
what he
with that?
wants.
Okay.
Sure.
Everybody go with that? All right, so if you're all right with that, I think we'd like to continue this to our October 19th meeting, which would be back at Danvers High School.
That's fine with us, isn't it?
And by the way, I just, again, because of the spirit here, you're in a neighborhood, Mrs. Spears, I appreciate the efforts we're making to, there's a tenant gone, and it seems like things are improving. And I hope we can continue on that path, because I think that's, we're just looking to have a harmonious neighborhood here. I don't think we want to have the Hatfields and McCoys, right?
I just want to add, though, that the Conservation Commission is not going to have any kind of final decision as to what needs to be done by the 19th.
Understood. I think we're more interested in what town council has to say, and, I think we'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's fine.
Sound good? So we would ask that that we get a motion for continuance.
So moved.
Second?
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you on
Thank you.
October 19th. Danvers High School.
We're at the high school.
High school.
At the high school.
At the high school.
We're moving around
Mr.
here.
Chairman,
Well, yes.
All over
is there
town.
any way we can shut that noise off? Is that
Well-
the air conditioner?
I don't know. We have a building
going
inspector
crazy
here,
here.
so maybe he knows something about this building.
I asked DPW what they could do for us.
Okay.
You can't hear anything.
It's like we're in the
honestly.
middle of a bass drum up here.
High school looks better and better, doesn't it?
I'm wondering why we're here.
We were
All right,
better
folks,
off-
if you just give us a minute, we'll get the mics wiped down.
We were better off when we were down there.
We were on the floor last, just
Yeah.
so everybody
Yeah,
knows.
yeah,
We were on
our,
the floor last time, we could hear
Our
better.
DCAT person did point that out, so. Okay.
We could push all of our tables up
Can't,
further.
we can't shut that off?
Okay.
Butter, do you have that one?
All right, I'm gonna read the next case. Carlos Pinto Jr., docket number 20-4875, requesting a variance, special permit, and finding to convert an existing structure to a two-family, erect a second floor. The existing is 6 feet 8 inches from property line. New addition will be the same in accordance with 30.2.4C, 30.2.4A, B, and D, and 3.11.1A and B of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 73 Poplar Street, zoned R1. Mr. Chair, we are in receipt of a letter from the applicant saying we are still working on the drawings and would like to get a continuance for the appeal to the next meeting on October 9th.
Okay,
Thank
so
you,
we have a
Carlos.
motion to continue. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Clerk, if we could move on to the next
Next
continued case.
Richard Travaglione, docket number 20-4876, requesting a special permit for an additional garage structure in accordance with Section 6, Table 1 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 8 Christian Lane.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, that's nice. We can hear that one. So, we are in receipt of a new drawing. I'm a little confused because to me, the building doesn't look any smaller, but maybe you could summarize what you've done and update the board, and we'll ask some questions.
Sure. The contractor that I was gonna use that helped me with it, he shortened it up by a bay, one garage bay, which would be 10 feet. The depth is the same at 28 feet, and instead of 3 cars, it's just 2 cars. It's basically the same structure, a couple different shapes in the gables, but from left to right, it's gonna be 10 feet smaller. So it'd be one car bay smaller.
Okay, so you did reduce it. I guess
Yes.
I have that wrong. The original structure was
28 by 42.
28 by 42, and now we're...
And it was gonna be 3 bays.
And we're 28 by 32 now.
Yes.
Correct.
26. Oh,
No, 26 is height.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And did the height come down at all? Is the height the same?
The height is 26. I think it came down a little.
It came
I think
down
just a
as
half
well?
a foot.
Okay. Anything else?
Because it's not going to, because we have been able to save a little on the structure, and we have the plumbing right at the cabana, we are gonna add just a bathroom on the first level of the garage unit.
Okay, so you're looking to plumb it.
We have plumbing at the cabana, that's right out, that's only about 20 feet away from it.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay, and I believe, Ken, you're gonna sit on this case, but we'll start down there with you, Corinne.
I noticed that you included the bathroom in the second drawing, and you state that it's a washroom. Do you have the dimensions of what this washroom is going to be?
5 by 6?
And there's not going to be a shower or bathtub or anything like that in
No.
there, correct?
I'm sorry, did you say 5 by 6?
Yeah, just enough for a place for the kids to wash their hands and maybe go to the bathroom.
Not
Or-
to have to walk all around.
Or if we're working in the garage or anything of that nature.
Okay, those are my only questions.
Yeah, but no,
Thanks, Corinne. Ken?
I have no questions.
thank you.
Jeff.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Becky?
I have no questions.
And Bob?
I got this picture, 2-car garage, I like it.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I believe you've answered my questions. The structure's smaller, although we weren't putting plumbing in it prior, correct?
At that time, we weren't,
So
but
that-
the expense
so that-
was,
So that changed. You've
getting the
had
expense of doing that wasn't gonna work with the size that we were once going for. But now, where I'm able to save a little with the structure.
Well, we're not here to determine the expense. I just wanted to
But
know what changed.
that was my choice
Well,
in making the change.
And I'll say this with my comments, but it kind of changes the ballgame for me because, you know, this is now a structure that, you know, could easily be turned into a second house because now you've got plumbing at it. So, but anyway, I think you answered my questions.
We don't need a
Any
sec,
additional questions from the board?
we don't really need a second house over there.
I'm
but
sorry,
it-
just speak into the mic.
We don't really need a second house over there, it's just a garage, and it basically takes the cars off the street, while it's better for the neighborhood and it's better for the street also. It's a very tight turn. The bus comes down the street, and when you put the cars on the street, when you don't have where to put them in the garage that we have right now, the neighbors backed up because our neighbor's driveway, it's right in front of our house. And we basically have to park all the way at the cul-de-sac, at the end of the cul-de-sac to.
Yeah, no, I
our
understand
cars.
that. I understand why you want the garage. But adding running water to it changes it for me. I'm just telling you, for me, it just makes it more of a home.
But
versus a garage.
It's just for the kids to wash their hands and to go to the bathroom. As he mentioned, he's like a little bit of a walk to come to the house, and the kids are like very impatient sometimes. It's just like a little toilet for
Well,
them.
I understand
It's
where you're going with
basically-
it. All right, any other questions out of the board? If not, I'll go out to the audience. You got anything?
No?
No? Anybody here on 8 Christian Lane? Seeing none, we'll come back and deliberate. I'm sorry? Did I-
Bill.
Street's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Bradstreet. Not only can we not hear, but I can't see either, so if you have to, folks, just do this.
My question, would it be one of the stipulations that this, now that it has changed with plumbing, that it not be turned into a living quarters? Would that be one of your stipulations, or could it be?
I'll go to the building inspector on that. I think it's kind of covered because this is a accessory use structure, correct?
Well, they need a special permit, so the paperwork that you're voting on is gonna govern the use of the
So it's-
garage. He wanted to put the bathroom on the second floor, and my suggestion was that would probably be a deal breaker. I suggested a half bath on the first floor.
So there is no second floor?
There is a second floor.
There is.
My suggestion to the applicant was not to put a bathroom on the second floor, because it would probably be a deal breaker with the board.
I got it. So that's why it's on the first floor.
And that's why it's a half bath only.
That's why it's half.
Very good.
On the first floor.
Got it. Answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. All right, any additional questions from the audience on 8 Christian Lane? Okay, we'll come back and deliberate. Corinne?
Mr. Chairman, will they take that as a condition that the bathroom be on the first floor?
They submitted a plan.
And
so-
it's-
yeah.
it's on the first
Yeah.
floor. All right.
Corinne?
I think we should put a limit on the size of that washroom, and then I guess we can vote
Can you
for it.
ask her to
but-
pull her mic
Pull your
closer?
mic
Oh,
up.
sorry. I think we should put a size limit on the bathroom, and if he said it's 5 by 6, I think that
I
should
see
be in the decision, that it can only be 5 by 6.
So you'd like to see it, the size be part of the decision?
Yes, otherwise, if we don't put that in, they could have it be a washroom for a couple of years, someone could buy the house from them, and then, put
Blow it up.
put a shower or
Yeah.
something in it.
Okay. Ken?
I agree with Corinne. I think there should be a size limit on that. Make it purely just enough for a sink and a toilet, and then I'd be fine with that.
Very good. Jeff?
Yeah, I also agree. So, the board's concern is that we've had many, many illegal apartments in Danvers. And so, our concern is to try to keep a future owner of this property from converting that garage into an illegal apartment, which is why we're so concerned about it staying a half bath and staying 5 by 6. But I will vote for it with those conditions.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff. And Becky?
I would also vote for it. I think we could just stipulate that it be a two-piece bathroom, a sink and a toilet, but restricting the size to 5 by 6. Where the structure is, I understand that you want a bathroom because it's pretty far from your house. But the size of the structure, I appreciate that you reduce the size of the structure, but you back up to just state hospital land, so it's not like it's gonna bother anyone, but I can understand that you would want a bathroom for the kids because they're gonna have a play area there. So I would vote for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. And Bob?
I will vote for this.
Thank you.
And I too, just to reiterate, you know, your intent, honorable, and I'm sure genuine, but we always have to look at what the next person's gonna do 100 years from now, when we're all gone. And, you know, easily could be turned into a second property on the building, and that's not the intent that you're looking for. You're looking for a garage, a play area, and a small bathroom. And as long as you'll take the condition of 5 by 6 bathroom,
Yep.
I would vote for this as well. So if I could get a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the special permit in accordance with Section 6, Table 1 of the Danvers zoning bylaws for the detached garage per the plan submitted. The municipal water and sewer shall not be overloaded by the garage. The public street shall not be overloaded by the garage. The value of other buildings and properties shall not be depreciated by the garage. The specific site's appropriate location for the garage. The garage will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There will not be undue nuisance to vehicles or pedestrians, and adequate and proper facilities will be provided to ensure the proper operation of the proposed garage. The proposed garage will be in harmony with the general purpose of the bylaw.
I've got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You want to put those
Good luck.
conditions, you want to put those
The
conditions on it?
Did you-
And yeah. You got that in there?
Did you say the conditions?
Yeah, what?
The 5 by 6
5 by 6
bathroom?
bathroom.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That condition.
That condition.
Two-piece, 5 by 6, two-piece bathroom.
Okay, thank you, and see the building
Thank you.
inspector. Yeah, if
Thank
you
you.
could just walk out that way. All right, folks, just give us a minute to wipe down the mics. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
Hey, Bob, do you want to switch spots? Because you're right on David. We could switch. On this one.
Dave, is there any way we can shut this off? The, whatever's running, is there any way we can shut that off? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. It's just impossible to hear. We're kind of guessing.
The only thing to do is
Can we move to the front of the stage?
forward.
Yeah.
It's taped, but
Should we all take 3 steps forward?
Yeah.
What if we move forward a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, let's try to move up a little and see if that helps us.
Supposed to be
refrigerators.
Sorry, folks, we're trying to roll with it. The zoning board's like nomads this year. We've been everywhere. Town hall, high school. We're gonna have us in the parking lot pretty soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Try that, Bob. We'll see. It actually does seem a little better.
Seems a little better.
Little less drum.
So, Mr. Chair, that is you're listening to the chilling equipment for the kitchen below you. Did you hear it? Did you hear that?
I'm trying to listen to the people.
What is he saying? I
He
can't
said
hear him.
we're listening to the.
That's the chilling equipment for the kitchen refrigerator
Oh,
downstairs.
great, the refrigerator's in the kitchen.
Okay. Well, we don't want the kids having spoiled food, so I guess they have to stay on. All right, folks, so if you can just bear with us, and if we ask you to speak up or yell, that's why.
Okay, we're going to the next case.
Yep.
Beauport Ambulance Service, docket number 20-4878, requesting a variance to allow bunking on the second floor in accordance with Section 6, Table 1 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 1 Cheever Street, Zone C1.
Somebody here on 1 Cheever Street. Hi, if you could just come on up, identify yourself, tell us what you're looking to do. Oh, sorry, Becky, could you read in, sorry, 1 second, the letter from Pelletier?
Okay. I have a letter from Pelletier Rug and Floor to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We will not be attending the meeting on Monday, September 28th. As the trustee of the 17 Water Street Trust that holds the property at 17 Water Street, we have no objections to Beauport Ambulance Services' request for a variance. They are your direct abutters, is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. And you are?
I'm John Morris, I'm owner of Beauport Ambulance.
I'd pull that right up so it's
Didn't
right
wanna
by
break
your
it.
mouth.
And so you lease this property, is that correct?
I own the property.
You own the property?
Correct, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're looking for what's considered bunking for our ambulance crews on the overnight hours when there's no ambulance calls going on. There can be beds upstairs for them to rest, similar to what you see at a fire station, and also another ambulance service in town, what was then Lyons Ambulance about 15 to 18 years ago at the old fire station. But with our zoning, I believe it's C1, does not allow bunking areas, so we haven't been able to have beds upstairs. So what it has meant is we pull our ambulance crews out of the town of Danvers on the overnight and put them at one of our other satellite stations on the North Shore.
Okay, so you really just, and I went back and looked at the minutes, and apparently when we first voted on this back in 2011, it was an electrical contractor that was in the building, is that correct? Are you part of that?
I purchased the building 2013, I believe,
Okay, so it was after that.
from Jeff Bunk.
Okay. Okay, so you're looking to bunk people, and it's not allowed, so you're here on a variance.
Correct.
That sum it up?
Yes.
Okay, let's start down there with you, Bob.
That means they're gonna sleep over, right?
That's the idea.
All right. Why don't we just say that? But anyway, how many people we talking?
We currently just have one ambulance there, so 2 people.
2 people?
2 people, correct, on the
No
overnight.
further questions?
So,
Thank you.
okay.
Becky?
So 2 people, and how many parking spaces do you have?
We have enough to park 6 employee vehicles. During the day hours, we run an additional ambulance out of there, but just for day hours, as well as a couple chair cars.
I missed that whole thing.
That's okay. So during the day hours, we run an additional ambulance and 2.
So how many ambulances do you have?
2 out of the Danvers base.
And how many garages do you have?
In Danvers, 1. We have 3 bays in this building.
3 garage bays.
Correct.
2 ambulances.
Mhm.
And 1 extra ambulance during the day?
We have 2 total, 1 all day and all night, and
Okay.
1 extra during the day.
And how many employees overall?
7 during the day.
7 during the day and at night?
2,
And how many parking spaces do you have outside of the garage bays?
8.
You have 8 parking spaces there?
We have a side lot where we can get 6, and we also park in the front of the building where we have 3. We would consider it 2, but we could technically get 3 there if we like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Jeff?
So you mentioned that at night, because you cannot bunk people at the Danvers facility, you move the ambulance to another locale. Does that impact your service time when their call happens to be in Danvers?
It does. So we do provide transportation, emergency transports for several nursing homes and assisted livings in Danvers. And since we've had to pull our ambulance crews out of that building on the overnight, it either results in us having to call another provider or an extended response time for the emergencies.
And what would you estimate your actual extended amount of time is?
It's an extra 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Jeff. And Ken?
I have no questions.
And Corinne?
I have no questions.
And Corinne, are you voting on this case?
You voted on, yeah, yes, I am.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I was at your site on Sunday. I just want to, I think Becky touched on this a little, but something's not making sense with me. There's parking between 1 Cheever Street and the building that's on the corner.
Correct.
It's lined.
Yep.
And I believe I saw 4 Beauport vehicles outside your garage at that time on Sunday. Is that correct? Stacked.
I'm not there on Sundays, but
Okay.
we have 2 chair cars and an ambulance there on
Okay,
Sundays. Our truck,
I couldn't tell you a chair car from an ambulance.
no
but-
problem.
But I'm just trying to get vehicle counts and try to understand your inner workings here. So you have the 3 garage bays,
Correct.
and there's 3 vehicles parked inside your building. Is that the maximum the building can take inside?
No, we could fit 5 vehicles
5
inside,
can go
depending on the
inside.
size, yes.
So you mentioned you have 7 employees during the day, and I imagine they all have their own vehicles. Where exactly are those 7 cars parking?
Most park on the parking lot that you saw the vehicles parked at on Sunday. Some park along Cheever Street as well.
Okay, and that is a public way that parking is allowed on?
Correct.
Okay. And so 2 overnight people, and this allows you to basically take calls from 1 Cheever Street where you could deploy an ambulance from that location?
Correct.
And as someone who used to live next to the fire department on Bayview Ave, overnight they were pretty good about not flying out of the garage with sirens on. Is there some kind of protocol with that? I'm just thinking the neighbor's gonna now, if we allow this bunking, get a 2 a.m. Siren coming out the door.
So there's no protocol in writing, but we actually, since 2013, when I bought the building, we had vehicles there on the overnight because I was unaware of this zoning until recently when the fire department did an inspection and realized that we were bunking crews there. So for the last 7 years, we've been responding to emergencies from this facility. It's just been for the past few months when we had to move our crews out of there that we have not been. And we've, to knock on wood, we've never had an issue with the neighbors in this area.
Okay, I didn't catch all that, but I think what you're saying is you were bunking people,
For
didn't?
7 years, he's been.
For
bunking.
7 years, didn't know you couldn't, and
Correct.
that's why you're here before us?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions from the board? Anyone here from the public on 1 Cheever Street,
Oh,
Beauport
can I just
ambulance?
read this one other letter here?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, read it.
There's one other letter here. It's a memo from Emmeline Liakos from 19 Water Street. Ms. Liakos called to inform us, this is the building inspector, that she could not attend the meeting on 9/28. She wanted the board to know that she is in favor of the bunking at the Beauport Ambulance Service at 1 Cheever Street. She lives at 19 Water Street.
Okay, thank you, Becky. And, John, if I could just one more time, just so I have it clear. There isn't a protocol when you come out of there at an overnight hour, but what is typically what is your crew, I guess, doing?
So we ask them to operate with what's called due regard.
Say it again?
With due regard, we ask them to operate. If they're pulling out of the garage to take a left to come onto Water Street at 2 o'clock in the morning, chances are there's not going to be any
pretty quiet,
traffic.
right?
And they'll have their emergency lights on, which anyone can see coming from either the set of lights or coming from up further on Water Street.
But
Again,
no sirens?
no sirens.
Okay.
No. The only time that you would use a siren is when you need to get traffic to move out of your way. That's not moving because they can see your lights.
In the apartment up top, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, is that what's
So
going?
there's 2 bathrooms, 1 big open room in the front, which is a TV room with a small kitchenette, and in the back of the building, there's just 1 big room that we had 2 beds in. We pulled those beds out a couple months ago, but if we are granted this, we will put the 2 beds back.
Okay. Okay. And I'll go out to the public now. Anybody here on Cheever Street? Seeing none, I will come back to the board, and Corinne.
I will vote for this.
Thank you. Ken?
I would vote for this as well.
And Jeff?
I will vote for this.
Becky?
I have concerns about this being a variance and running with the property and not having a parking plan. I know that when we talked about this the last time, we had a parking plan for the apartment, and we discussed specifically where the tenant would park, where the business would park. I'm not comfortable with it because we're basically allowing this forever in this building. And I'd like more information about where all these people that work there and your vehicles can be parked. So that's my opinion.
So you're not in favor of it currently?
No.
Thank you, Becky. And Bob?
I'll vote for this.
Yeah, Mr. Morris, I don't want to be a stick in the mud, but I kind of agree with Becky. Although you have been operating up till 2 months ago, and I'm guessing with little problems from your neighbors, I too would like to see some kind of parking plan. I'm okay with it. I think I can see you going back to operations as you had it, but you know, considering I don't see really a hardship here, and we're kind of doing something a little unorthodox, I would like to see, because I looked through the decision back in 2011, and we spent, you know, at length time discussing parking. And we do that for a reason in neighborhoods, because it can easily become an issue for the neighbors, and once you have the decision, that's it, right? So as you can see, we had a case here earlier tonight. So I think if you can just provide the board with a detailed parking plan for employees and your operational vehicles, I think, Becky, that would satisfy you, or at least give her the information.
I just have one more comment.
Yep, go
that,
ahead.
you know, he's indicating that his part of the parking is on the street, but we do have snow emergencies in Danvers. So what's the plan if there's a snow emergency? Where are those vehicles going to go?
So during the snow, I can personally attest to this because I plow the building. My vehicles go in the garage. And I believe back in 2011, when you folks were dealing with this, that was because they were trying to turn the second floor into residential.
Right.
This isn't residential. This is just going to be for our employees whose vehicles are already there to be able to sleep upstairs. And for a hardship, I'm not asking for a hardship, but I'm just asking the board to know that. Right now, if one of our nursing homes calls for an emergency ambulance, it's taking an approximately 3 to 4 minutes longer to get an ambulance there because I cannot have my crews be sleeping there. So that's, to me, that's a hardship. The parking plan, I can definitely supply a parking plan. We do have, you saw the building on Sunday, that parking lot on the side where those vehicles normally are parked outside are normally inside, so that whole parking lot is free, and we can fit 6 employee vehicles there.
Well, again, I think.
Could you ask the building, Mr. Chairman, through you, the building inspector, what happens if they move out? Can anybody bunk people in there?
How says you, Mr. Maloney?
Well, I think the board just has to word their decision that this is bunking specifically for the ambulance,
For this business only?
for the ambulance business. And if
Can't.
another ambulance company doesn't go in there, then the bunking isn't viable. And that's
So
why
if
that's why we sent them here. We didn't want to end up with, you know, that it's been used as an apartment. We didn't want any of that to happen. We thought this was the proper way to get this done. We looked at, you know, the town's exempt from zoning, so, you know, when they use the fire station on Maple Street, and when they sold it to the private company, Lions, and we went back and looked at how they did it the same way, is they got some zoning relief. The bunking was in the decision, so we thought this was the proper way to get this done without creating, you know, a non-conforming apartment or something.
So as long as that decision says that this is basically for ambulance-type company use, bunking only.
Correct, specific to the bunking, so it's not an apartment, it's bunking for the
For the
24-hour
business.
ambulance service, and that decision would stand on its own, the wording.
Okay, and I think I'm okay with that. It sounds like Becky's okay with that, but I think both of us still want some kind of parking plan. So you don't have the votes currently to have this passed tonight without it. So I would ask that you continue this, provide the board with a parking plan, and I can't see a problem going forward as long as that parking plan makes sense to us. How's that sound?
Okay? Thank you.
All right, so our next meeting is on October 19th at the high school, and we would just ask that some kind of parking plan come into the Code Administration Department the Tuesday prior,
The 13th.
13th.
October 13th.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
that gives time for the board to get it and review it.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Oh, hold on. So could I get a motion to continue?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll see you on the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, our next case is Glenn.
Hold on, they gotta wait.
Oh, sorry.
I thought this was Dave's.
Where's your assistant?
He's doorman. Dave the doorman. Keeping the riffraff out. Okay, Madam Clerk, if we could go to the next case.
The next case is Glenn M. Dagley, docket number 20-4879, requesting a variance from front and side setbacks to erect a shed in accordance with Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 17 Pickering Street, zoned R1. Did you tell them where they could get agendas?
I did.
Oh, okay. I don't see anybody with an agenda.
They don't want to read it. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Dagley, 17 Pickering Street.
Hi.
This is my wife, Susan.
Good evening.
We're seeking relief from the setbacks to install a shed on our property at 17 Pickering Street.
And that's it. Seems pretty straightforward. You're on a very tight lot there, I see.
Super tight.
I was peeking over your fence yesterday. Okay, so, looks like you setback of about under a foot in the rear and 4.3 on the side.
Yes,
Okay. All right, is that it?
that is it.
All right, Mr. Dagley, right? We'll go down to you, Bob.
This is gonna go in the corner of Hobart Street, right?
Yes, sir, abutting the property behind me.
All right, now there's something there, I kinda saw over the top of your fence.
There's a temporary canvas tent,
Okay,
which will be removed.
and that's where you want the shed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I see you don't have much room to do much of anything there.
No, we do not.
All right, I have no further questions.
Becky, just hold up one second. So there is a letter in the packet. Do we need to read that in?
No, I'll read it. So there's a letter
In support.
that we received from Helen Callahan at 38 Hobart Street, and her property abuts the property of the applicant, and she said, I understand the Dagleys are applying for a shed permit, and I have no problem with this decision.
Okay.
And that's Callahan, Helen Callahan.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay.
And questions?
So, so 0.8 feet from that corner?
.8 would be from the rear property line, which is along Mrs. Callahan's driveway side. Currently, we have our fence separating the two properties.
Okay. I saw, yeah, I got out of my car and looked also. So 10 by 12, so if you made the shed a little bit smaller, you could get a little further away from that lot line?
I believe if we made the shed a little smaller, we could increase that
Okay,
maybe another foot.
okay. Would you consider that?
I would consider a smaller shed. I was hoping for 120 square feet, but I would consider that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Jeff?
Yeah, having a corner lot is a bummer with two front setbacks. I have no questions.
Thank you. Ken?
How tall is it gonna be to the peak?
10 feet, no higher than 10.
What do you?
It's a conforming shed.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What are you gonna, well, I guess that doesn't matter what you're gonna put inside. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Ken. And Corinne?
I assume that you're situating the shed like this on your property, so the door will face out, like the main door in between the two windows will kind of face, towards the, away from, Hobart Street, correct?
Yes, I think the large door would be facing our patio, the backyard.
Okay. Patio. And how far, if you actually situate the shed the way it's on the plan, how far away is the corner of the shed to the corner of your house?
I would say less than 2 feet.
That's pretty close. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Corinne. That was my same question. That looks a really tight, I mean, I think kind of 3 feet's a industry standard to have a 3-foot space between items. In this case, it would be structures, which would lend itself to, as Becky asked of you, maybe a slightly smaller shed would not only improve the setback a little on the rear as it pertains to 38 Hobart Street, but it would maybe give you another foot of space between your home and the shed. But I guess I really don't have any questions. I'm guessing this is a shed that's pre-built and delivered to site, or is it going to be built?
I think it's going to have to be built on site because I'm not sure how they would access that corner.
Okay, so the fence is or isn't coming down to satisfy this to get it in?
I don't think so,
Yeah.
but I suppose it could if we
Yeah.
had to.
Well, I can understand the need for one. You're on a very small lot there. Anyways, I don't have any additional questions. Anyone here from the public on 17 Pickering Street?
Bill,
Got him. I saw him that time.
sorry, didn't mean to yell.
Again, Bill Bradstreet, town meeting member, precinct 1.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. I know these folks, I know the location just as you do. I'd like to think that they could be given the allowance to build or put what they need where they need it on the property. Needing a shed for whatever is an essential.
You're in favor?
If I were a member of the board, yes, I would be in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here on 17 Pickering? Hearing none, I will come back to the board. I believe I started with you, Bob.
You know, I hear the arguments for having a little smaller shed, but what are we really gaining here? We're going from 8 inches to what, 1.5 feet? You know, I don't see that we're gaining that much by getting a smaller shed, and if he needs a bigger shed, I'd vote for it.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
All right, so it's supposed to be 5 feet from the lot line. I mean, I would prefer that you get at least a foot, 2 feet off that lot line. That would be my preference. We'll see what the rest of the board says.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Jeff?
I will vote for it as it is.
Thanks, Jeff. And Ken?
I think it needs to come a little farther out from the lot line as well. I mean, just for practical reasons, if, for instance, you had to fix the fence or something, how do you get back there between there? I mean, you'd have to go on the neighbor's property and stuff. It's just really tight squeeze. So I would agree with what Becky said.
And Kathy, if you could help me out, is Ken voting or Corinne?
This is Ken.
Ken? Okay. And Corinne?
I don't have as much trouble with the size of it as where you've put it. I would, and I don't know if anyone else would agree with me, I would rather have it be 3.3 away from Hobart, move it back to give you more space between your property and 38 Hobart, and move it away from the side of your house, so it's not 2 feet there. So I would just kind of move it like that, and so it would be the same size and shape, it would just be moved over a little bit. That way you can get in behind the shed and your property line, and you won't have that awkward corner where your house is right there. That's what I would do.
Okay. You know, Bob makes a good point. You know, you want a shed, you're on a small lot, this is what you want. But I agree, maybe reducing that 4.3 setback and getting it away from your house. I don't even see how you get, you know, not that you need a big lawnmower, but just anything through. I think you may find that that'll be a real hindrance to you. Maybe you do want to go with a slightly smaller shed to achieve that, but as Corinne pointed out, if you reduce that 4.3 setback to 3.3, you know, I don't know if that gets you off the fence 0.8 setback at all, but it does get you away from your house a little. But I guess I would vote for it as presented. But right now, it looks like you don't have the votes. So
Ask him what he wants to do.
What would you like to do? What are we're here on a variance, so you need 4 votes, and you only have 3.
Well, as I said before, I am here for the hardship of the setbacks, and I would agree if the board prefers me to reduce the size of the shed to a smaller shed, I would do that. Yes.
In what size, though? We would need that detail. I don't think we have to make them come back if we can note on this drawing, Rich?
Yeah, just agree on the size.
Yeah, so we just need to agree on the size.
Okay.
I think if you went to a 10 by 8, maybe?
I would say 10 by 8 would probably do it, yes.
And that will get us a couple of feet in both directions.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Sounds good
Does
to
that
me.
work for everybody?
I would agree with Corinne, though, that if he wants to
Encroach the 4.3 more.
go back that way a little bit, then maybe he can still get it like a 10 by 10.
A 10 by 10. So, but we do need specifics, because what we vote on is going to be based on what you're telling us, not how we design it.
Right,
So-
yeah.
So I would, it sounds like what I'm hearing from the board, if you went 10 by 10 and moved over to a 3.3 setback off of Hobart Street, I think that satisfies everything.
That sounds
Is
good to
right?
me, yes.
Does that work for you?
It works for me.
Okay, so we're going to amend the drawing to a structure, instead of 10 by 12, 10 by 10, with a setback of 3.3 and 2.8. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Was that the 12-foot in that direction?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the dimensional variance, Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow a shed, and what was the size, please?
10 by 10.
10 by 10 shed to be located closer to the front and rear lot lines as shown on the plan submitted.
We're going to go change the plan, though.
Updated
The new
plans.
plan submitted.
Yep, the updated plan.
What the dimensions?
The hardship is the size and shape of the lot and the location of the house on the lot, and the fact that it is a corner lot with 2 frontages.
I've got a motion, can I get a second?
Are you okay?
Are we good?
Do we say the 3.3 and the 2.8?
Yeah, put that in your worded decision. 3.3 from Hobart Street property line?
The setbacks of,
The setbacks will be 3.3
and 2.8.
And 2.8.
from Hobart and 2.8 from 38 Hobart Street. Is that okay?
That sounds good, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll include that as part of the motion.
I've got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Good luck.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, see the building inspector.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, folks, just give us a second, we'll get the microphones wiped down. This one has a letter too.
Yeah,
Yep.
read it. Thank you.
Bob, are you able to hear better now? or-
Yes, this is
Okay, I am too.
not 100%
No,
better,
but yeah, it is better.
50% better.
Okay.
That was driving me to the funny farm.
It's like,
Yeah,
Well, I think we're only back here
that must have been a low
two
bid
more
on those
times.
generators.
We're back here two more times.
they can put us on the floor.
Yeah, that's better.
You ready, Mr. Chairman?
Madam Clerk, go right ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the next case is Ramon Araujo and Liana Bisegna. Hope that's correct. Docket number 20-4880, requesting a variance from front and side and rear front setbacks for a 16 by 32 foot kidney-shaped pool in accordance with section 7. Did you know it's September?
I know.
In accordance with section 7, table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 10 Wayside Drive, zoned R2.
Okay,
name's
And
Ron.
I'm in receipt of a
Yeah.
letter, we are in receipt of a letter from Donia
Amari?
Amari
Yeah.
and Yosin Lamal. We are the direct abutter to Mr. Aracho and Ms. Bezegna. The rear of both of our properties abut the highway, that's 128. We've spoken with Ray and Jen and have seen the proposed layout of the pool and are in support of their application for the minor variance needed to install the swimming pool. We're providing this letter of support for their application in lieu of attending the meeting.
Okay, so, go ahead and say who you are and tell us what you like to do.
My name's Ray Rojo. I live at 10 Wayside Drive, Danvers, Mass.
I'm Liana Bezegna at 10 Wayside Drive.
We're just seeking a variance from the side neighbor to be able to put an in-ground swimming pool in the property.
So you're just looking to put in a pool,
Yes, sir.
but you don't have the setbacks?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe, Corinne, you're voting on this case? And is that about it?
That's it.
Okay, we'll start down there with you, Corinne.
I am looking at the drawing that you submitted, and there, I see the pool, the kidney-shaped pool. And then there's a 24 by 22 structure beside it.
Yes.
Is that a pool house?
No, that's the garage.
Okay, so that's the existing garage?
Yes.
Okay. I do not have any other questions.
Thank you, Corinne. Jeff? Sorry, Ken.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
The abutters that we got this letter from, are they on the left or the right side?
They are on my left side,
On the pool side?
on the pool side.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Becky?
I did go out there and look at it, and that's the only place it can go, so. And you're gonna be 8 feet from the lot line?
Yes.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Chair, we asked Rich if this is acceptable plan, because this is old.
Sure. What do you, how says you, Mr. Building Inspector?
Well, we got this out of they got a variance for the garage, so we used the same paperwork.
Okay.
So
And
you're
I actually
okay
w-
with this plan?
You okay with the plot plan?
Yes, I actually went out there and helped them lay it out.
Okay,
So
terrific.
I feel comfortable.
All right. It's tough. You're right on 128. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
And Bob?
The garage is already there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, what will be the distance between the pool and the garage?
The pool in the garage would probably be roughly about 6 to 8 feet.
How much, I'm sorry?
6 to 8 feet between my pool and my garage.
Is it gonna be 6 feet or 8 feet? Because,
8 feet.
8 feet.
so why can't you move the pool 2 feet over? All you need is 10 feet, right?
He needs 15,
We need
doesn't he?
15.
15 on that
R2.
too?
He's R2.
Side setback.
Okay, I stand corrected then.
So he's about half, Bob.
Yeah,
He's halfway.
I don't know why, I thought it was 10. All right, I
That's
have no
the-
further
it's the
questions then.
Refrigeration.
The refrigeration is
It's the-
freezing me, I'll tell
It's
you.
it's the noise. Any further questions, Bob?
No, I'm
No,
all set.
okay. I too visited your property. It looks like you've kind of cleared out already in preparation. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any questions. This will be a contracted, you're not
Yes,
doing it
yes.
yourself?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
absolutely not.
No, I don't have any further questions. Any more from the board? If not, I'll go out to the audience on 10 Wayside Drive. Anybody here on 10 Wayside Drive? Seeing none, I will come back to the board. Corinne?
I actually have one other question. When are you planning on doing the work? Are you going to do it this fall?
I'm trying to get them to dig it now, once I get the variance approved. They said they could dig it, and then they'll put the liner in probably March. March.
Mr. Building Inspector, are we okay with digging the hole and leaving it all winter?
I've already taken some of these calls. I recommend no, because you're gonna get frost heaves down there once you excavate that hole and let it sit all
Yeah, I
winter.
agree with
So
that.
can I
Not a
ask you
good
a question?
idea.
Do I have the variance until next year? I mean, it's
The
all...
variance is good for 2 years.
1 year,
1
Okay.
year.
and you can get a
As long as you act on it
6-month
within
extension.
one
Yeah,
year.
absolutely, so I'll wait till...
Yeah.
I would
No.
take his recommendation
Yeah,
if I were you.
absolutely, no, I appreciate
Seen
that,
a
I'll
lot
take
of
that.
things fall in, so.
No, I get you.
So Corinne, you're in favor of this?
Yes.
Very good. Ken?
I would vote for this, too.
Thank you, Ken. And Jeff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The rear setback to the highway doesn't concern me at all, and we have a letter from the abutter where it's on the near side, and they're more than half of the required distance, so I will vote for this.
Okay. Becky?
I'll vote for this.
And Bob?
I also will vote for this, and don't forget to invite those neighbors over for a dip.
I too will go for this, anything to help your enjoyment. And Buffalo out the highway, splashing kids in beach balls sounds a lot better than cars, so. Could I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the dimensional variance from the Danvers zoning bylaws to allow an in-ground pool to be closer to the side and front lot lines as shown on the plan submitted. The hardship to size and shape of the lot, undersized area and frontages, and the lot has,
Two.
Is that
Two,
two
number two.
frontages?
Yeah, 2 frontages. Why does he have 2?
Second.
He's on corner lot?
With the highway.
Oh, right. I've got a motion and I've got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, see the building inspector. Good luck.
Board members, thank you.
Chairman, our next case is 33 Burrows Street Trust, Susan Duncan, docket number 20-4881, requesting a variance to reduce a non-conforming lot to help the neighbor at 35 Burrows Street to get his garage on his property in accordance with Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 33 Burrows Street, zoned R1. This looks like a unique case.
Hi, I'm Jamie Cronin from 35 Burrow Street.
Hi, Jamie. I visited your property yesterday. I didn't smell any banana bread, though.
No, I know, there was a special request from them on top of the money they requested for it.
So I guess before you get started, I'm just unclear. So kind of what's bringing this about? Why the need for this?
Well, it's been a discussion for a while, and actually their father passed away, and I never got to talk to them about it, but I would like to, someday, I don't know what they want to do with the house, but I wanted to talk to them about getting my garage properly on my property. At the same time, too, I don't know if you saw how narrow the driveway
Yeah,
is, too.
yeah.
So during the winter time, I'm kind of already stepping on their property just to get out of my vehicle. So that's why we both came into agreement of
So you're
splitting-
basically shifting the property line to...
Yeah, but we're splitting the difference so I can maintain my property, but at the same time, too, they can still maintain their property as well.
Okay. Is that about it?
What's that?
Is that about all?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Ken, I believe you're voting on this one. And we'll start with you, Corinne.
This is interesting.
Corinne, if you could bring your mic a little
Do you
closer.
want me to read this letter?
Oh, yeah, that's a funny one.
Okay. Excuse me, Corinne. So to the Danvers Zoning Board regarding the property purchase between 35 and 33 Burrows Street. This is notice to the board that the lot adjustment sought by Jamie Cronin of 35 Burrows Street is being submitted with the full knowledge and consent of the executor of the estate at 33 Burrows Street, Susan Duncan. If approved by the board, Jamie Cronin will purchase the land from the 33 Burrows Street Trust for $500 and 2 loaves of banana bread. Susan Duncan of 33 Burrows Street Trust.
Better come up with that.
I knew she had to
banana
throw that in.
Uh-huh.
That couldn't have been a private deal, she had to throw that in.
No, it's public knowledge now.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
in the
that's what I
record.
said. People are gonna look at 100 years from now and get a kick out of it.
Well, somebody's got to laugh, right? Okay, Corinne, questions?
I just have a couple questions.
Yep.
How did you become aware that your garage, like, when you purchased the house, was the garage already there?
The garage was existing, yes.
Did you know at that time that it was on, part of it was on your neighbor's lot?
My neighbor told me just by word, but I'd never had it surveyed until recently to officially find out where it was. And the line is right up against the side of the garage, not the overhang of the garage.
Okay.
So I would have to enter his fence area to even be able to get to my right side of my garage.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken?
I have no questions.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
I have no questions.
Becky?
I have no questions.
And Bob?
Just a simple land swap. I have no questions.
I too have no questions. I'll go out to the audience. Anybody here on the application for 33 Burrows Street Trust? Seeing none, I will come back to the board for deliberations. Corinne?
I would vote for this. It helps both properties out.
Thank you. And Ken?
I also would vote for this.
Thank you. And Jeff?
I will vote for this.
Becky?
I would vote for this, and this reinforces my opinion that happens on some, we tell people to get a survey because we tell them we don't want their building their addition on somebody else's property, and this is exactly what happens. So mortgage surveys can be off by 5 feet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky. And Bob?
I also would vote for this. I think you'd run into legal trouble trying to sell your house, something like that. This will square everything away.
Yeah, I too see this as dotting the i's and crossing the t's and getting everything in order. And I too would vote for this, so if I could get a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the dimensional variance from the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the lot line to be moved to get a budding garage off this property. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot, undersized area and frontage, and the location of the accessory structure on the lot.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thank you.
See the building inspector.
We should have added
All right, folks, just give us a minute. Trying to move right along. I think we're doing pretty good here, actually. Might have just jinxed us, though. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, our next case is Joseph Skomersky, docket number 20-4882, requesting a variance and finding to extend and raise the roof of existing garage in accordance with Section 7, Table 2, and Section 3.11 A and B of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 107 Brad Street Avenue, zoned R2.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
If you could take your masks and tell us who you are.
I'm Joe Skomersky from 107 Brad Street Ave, and this is my wife, Melissa, and we own the property over there.
And I'm Melissa Skomersky.
Yeah, just right into that mic so we got a chance to hear you.
Okay, I'll do the talking.
Go ahead, tell us what you'd like to do.
Okay, so right now we have a 20 by 22 garage, which is a little bit small, and only has 8-foot garage doors to get the cars into. And we have 3 vehicles. She has a vehicle, I have a vehicle, plus we have an antique car which we store in the garage as well. And then, as you can see from the picture, we have a little shed addition on the garage that somebody put on at one time. And we also have a shed in our yard. So what we would like to do is add another garage, an 18 by 24 garage to our existing garage. So we would have enough room for storage for, our garage, for our utensils and garden equipment and everything else in the garage. So basically putting an addition onto our existing garage. And then it would have a second floor, and that would be used for storage for our lawn furniture and boat cushions and things like that we have to store because our house, is very small. We have to carry everything down the basement, and it's very inconvenient. And that was about it.
Okay, so you're gonna raise the existing structure, correct?
No, we are gonna keep
You're not.
3 walls of it. The front,
Okay.
the side on Doty Ave, and the back. So we're gonna keep 3 sides of the garage and put an addition on it.
Okay, but if I'm reading this correct, it looks like you kind of have an existing garage that's 24 feet. You're gonna add 18 to it?
Correct.
So that brings us up to 42?
Correct.
And
He's tearing down a shed.
tearing down the shed.
Well, there's a a shed that's
That's
attached
attached to it, yeah.
Right, and there's also a shed, and we also have an 8 by 10 shed in the yard.
Okay, I
We'll
don't
be
see
getting rid
that
of
here
as
on the
well.
plan.
Yeah, that's not on the plan, no.
It's not shown on the plan,
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
But we want to get rid of that as well, because our yard is skinny and long.
Okay, but I guess the way I look at this, you're basically asking for a 42 by 25 garage that combines your shed. It's 3-bay garage
Correct.
and a shed.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so 42 by 25. Okay, is that about it? And this is the rendering we have here in our packet?
Yes. So, yes, it's the rendering.
And Corinne, I think you're voting on this one?
Okay.
No?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, Corinne?
I'm writing it.
Okay, and I'm starting with Bob.
How many cars you gonna have in that garage?
3,
How many doors are gonna be in the garage?
3.
And that's it, you're just gonna have a 3-car garage, you don't have any other garages?
Correct.
I have no other questions.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
When I was there and spoke to you, you said that there will be no plumbing in this building, is that correct?
That's correct.
And no heat?
That's correct.
Okay.
There would just be
And there-
electricity,
the
just
new-
electricity in the garage.
I'm sorry?
Just electricity in the garage.
Just electricity?
Right, there'll be no
Yep.
plumbing or anything in
Okay.
the garage.
And the new structure will be approximately 9 feet taller than the garage that's there?
Correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. And so I'm just looking at the drawing, so I guess to the midpoint of the roof, we're talking about 16 or so feet? So
Of the
that's-
existing,
No, the new structure.
the new structure's 24.
To the midline or to the?
To the
peak?
ridge line. To the top,
To the
24
top,
point.
24 feet high.
Yeah, 24.4, I think it says there, yeah.
Okay, I see it. Thank
Yep.
you.
And the other roof, so the existing garage, I have a different roof design on it than the addition, which is also stepped back a foot, and it has a different roof, it has a shed dormer on it. So it wouldn't look like one big boxy,
Yeah.
long building. It looks like a
It's got like a
garage
step
with-
down.
with like a little addition to it.
Okay.
And the grade changes there dramatically, so that's why we have a little retaining wall there, and the garage doors are at different heights as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jeff, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken?
So it looks like it's going to be an odd shape. It's not going to be a complete rectangle, right? It sort of bumps out.
Right, yep. It's not gonna be a complete rectangle.
So what's the logic for that? I mean, you couldn't straighten it up?
Well, the existing garage, we're leaving and just adding the other piece to it. So we didn't want to move that other, encroach on the property line, you know,
So
from the
it's
existing
just-
garage.
It's further away from Brad Street, a little bit more
Right.
setback. All right, no, I have no other question. I just don't know why it wouldn't be a straight.
Thank you, Ken. And Corinne?
I see that there are stairs in, so you're going to have a second floor on this?
Correct,
And you said you're going to use that for storage?
correct.
That's it. I would like to know if any of the neighbors are here to discuss this project. I'm all done with questions. I
No
was
other
just wondering if anyone was here. It's
Okay.
gorgeous there. I was there when the sun was starting to set. If I was a neighbor behind you, I might not be happy about you going up 9 feet.
Well, we did speak to, we know all the neighbors very well. We spoke to all the direct abutters, and nobody had a problem with it. We do not block anybody's view of the water, and if we did, they would have something to say about it, but
What's the current height of the existing garage?
over 15 feet, say.
15, so you're going to
To the
go
peak.
9 feet higher?
Yep, about 9 feet, yep.
Okay. I don't have any, oh, actually, so 24, 42 by 25 garage, 3 garage doors with a loft, 24 feet high. I got all that right?
Correct.
Very good. Any additional questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll go to the audience. Anybody here on 107 Broad Street Avenue? Seeing none, I'll come back to
No,
you,
it's
Bob.
Bill.
Oh, sorry, your namesake.
Brad Street, town meeting member, precinct 1, because of the connection of the Brad Street name, I would be in favor of this,
Okay.
even though I'm not a member of the board. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else here on 107 Brad Street Avenue? Hearing none, I'll come back to the board. Bob?
I'll vote for this.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
I'll vote for this with the stipulations that there's no plumbing and no heat,
You okay with taking that as a condition?
Yes.
I guess.
I'll vote for this the way it is.
The way it is, yes. And Ken?
I would vote for it with the conditions that Becky stated.
And Corinne?
I will vote for this, but only because you have no neighbors complaining, because it is a beautiful view there.
Yeah, it's a
Thank
great
you.
little spot
Thank
at
you.
Brad Street Ave. And I got to see that other house that came before us. Looks like they did a nice job on it, so. I too would vote for this, and if I could get a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the dimensional variance from the Danvers zoning bylaw, section 7, table 2, to raise the roof of the garage in the front setback and extend the rear well into the rear setback as shown on the plan submitted with the condition there be no heat or plumbing in the structure. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot. The lot has half the required area, is not deep front to back, and has 2 frontages. Also, the location of the existing garage on the lot. There's also a 2-part finding. Move to grant the finding in accordance with the Danvers zoning bylaw, section 3.11, A and B, to expand the existing non-conforming garage as shown on the plan submitted.
I've got a motion. Can I get a second?
So we're seconding, did you do the variance
I
first?
did the variance. Oh, all right.
We
You
gotta
wanna
vote on
the
each of
variance
the-
first.
Yeah, we got
All
to
right.
vote on the variance. I got a motion for a
I
variance.
have a second on the variance.
I got a second on the variance. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now for a 2-part finding.
All right. I already read the findings, so we need a second.
I need a second on the 2-part finding. I need a second on the first part of the
You
finding.
need to do it in 2 parts.
All right, I move that the proposed addition increases the nonconformity.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move that the addition is not substantially more detrimental than what presently exists.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Good luck.
We're done.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a
Good
good
luck.
night.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, we're going to take 5 minutes, folks.
Get away from that drone for 5 minutes.
All right?
Read our next case.
Mr. Chairman, our next case is JHR Development LLC, docket 20-4883, requesting a variance to allow a portion of the property to be used for multifamily residential purposes and a finding to allow the alteration of the existing nonconforming parking setback and landscaping setback to decrease the nonconformity by increasing the parking setback and landscaping buffer over existing conditions in accordance with Table 3, Section 3 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 51 Needham Road, Zone C3.
Hi, good evening. Please, and if you could just, Attorney McCann, move right to that mic. That's the only way we got a shot at hearing you.
We have a big motor behind us.
It's driving us crazy.
Hope if you could, try just pulling it up a little bit to you. There you go.
It's for the kitchen refrigeration equipment. Great. No.
No, it's not really. Maybe step a little, yeah, try that.
Better.
Better. Okay, go ahead.
For the applicant, there, that's better. JHR Development. With me tonight is Hillary Rocket. He's the principal of the JHR Development LLC. Also with me tonight is Larry Beals, the project engineer, and Michael Wang, the project architect. And as indicated in the legal ad, this is a project at 51 Needham Road in the C3 zoning district. But the legal ad sounded a little more confusing than what it really is. This application is to allow the redevelopment of a portion of the property at 51 Needham Road that had been the site for many years of a movie theater, most recently Hollywood Hits. That parcel section of the larger parcel has been vacant for over 4 years now. It has fallen into significant disrepair. And this is an opportunity to revitalize that area and create a new multifamily use on that site that fits well with the other mixed-use components that exist on the site. The existing property has been before this board a number of times, and in fact, you've granted a number of variances relative to the uses that are on the property now. It's a 24.5-acre site. It is a large site. It has a number of mixed uses. There's a big box retail. There's a boat brokerage. There is professional office use. There is medical office use, all on that site, as well as the former movie theater. The site of the movie theater is about 4.5 acres, and that's the area that we're talking about tonight. It, again, has been closed since 2006. And the proposal is to revitalize that area by removing the movie theater building, which is about 25,000 square feet. It is an area that is almost entirely paved, and we're proposing to redevelop that into multifamily housing that will help us to address the housing needs in the town of Danvers, but also bring housing into an area that's going to support the existing mixed uses that are on the property. We did submit to you a very thorough, I think, and lengthy application explaining this proposal, and specifically as the proposed use fits within the mixed use components that are going on the property right now. The C3 zoning district permits by right shopping center types of uses. And shopping center uses, although given the size, this area doesn't meet the technical definition of a shopping center under the zoning bylaw. The definition of shopping center under the bylaw does include retail uses, it includes offices, it includes services, and those are all of the kind of things that you have going on the property right now. But shopping centers, as we've known them historically, have gone through quite an evolution, and they are evolving quite dramatically, and that started even before the pandemic with the change in shopping center type of uses to bring uses together that support each other, and that includes adding residential uses into shopping center uses. The idea of the traditional shopping center mall, where it's a big enclosed space with lots of little shops inside, is really not the way shopping centers are being developed now, and it's not really what people are looking for, quite honestly. And that certainly has been exacerbated given what we've gone through with the pandemic. What shopping centers are turning into now are spaces where mixed uses come together, where it's pedestrian friendly, it's often an outdoor combination of different types of uses, retail uses, services, offices, and residential, to meet the needs of consumers as well as residences, to bring the convenience together, to bring social spaces together, services together, live and work arrangements, all in close proximity. You saw in the application, I did not make up the word retail-dential. That really is the new term for these types of conglomeration of uses that is really the modern shopping center. And the greatest example of that, which you're all familiar with, I'm sure, is the Linfield Marketplace. And that brings together various types of services, residential uses, as well as retail uses. This site, 51 Needham Road, is a unique opportunity to bring that type of cohesiveness to the uses that are there now, the mixed uses that are there now, which is, again, the big box retail, the office uses, the medical office uses, the boat brokerage, and add the one missing component, and that's residential. And that's what we're proposing here for this derelict space of 4.5 acres. That's very visible from Route 128, but not at all visible from the access point of Endicott Street. And to take down the existing movie theater and replace it with 2 residential buildings for a total of 140 residential units, apartments, in a mix of studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedroom units. We're proposing 38 studios, 61 1-bedroom, and 40 2-bedroom units. In addition to replacing the derelict movie theater building, we are also proposing to replace what is truly a sea of pavement out on that site, as you've seen if you've gone out there, and I know you're all familiar with it. This proposal is reducing the amount of pavement and impervious surface by 20% and adding green space, a nice outdoor green area, and landscaping, which will certainly beautify the area, but also has some good environmental impacts to it as well by reducing that impervious surface. The 2 proposed residential buildings, as you've seen on the plans that were submitted, are fully conforming to the dimensional requirements of the zoning bylaw. The unit mix, again, as I've indicated, of the studio 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units are really intended to attract young professionals who will like the close proximity to the highways, empty nesters who want to stay in Danvers but downsize, as well as singles and couples who are looking for job opportunities, services, and residential uses that are close within walking distance to the MBTA bus route, which is a unique attribute for this site that isn't often found in properties in Danvers. The units are very modestly sized, as you've seen in the application, and that lends this application well to an affordable component. This is a use variance application under the Danvers zoning bylaw. We do not have to provide, under the affordable housing requirements of the bylaw, any affordable housing. However, this is an appropriate location for affordable housing. So we are proposing 10% of the units will be affordable in perpetuity. That means 14 affordable units on this property in a location that is truly appropriate for affordable housing, given the MBTA bus route, given the services, given the employment opportunities in the area. Before I turn this over to our project engineer to go through the plans with you, I do want to let you know that back on July 15th, we had, I believe, the first in-person staff meeting, technical review committee meeting for this project that had been held in quite some time. We met in this room with technical staff, planning staff, the building inspector, the engineering department, fire department, electric department were all there. We reviewed this project with them. We incorporated the comments that we heard into the plans that you see tonight. The plans were favorably received by staff, and we did discuss and agree upon the appropriate approach for permitting of this project, which is the use variance application that you see tonight, followed by, should the variance be granted, a site plan approval application with the planning board. And I will note, we do not anticipate the need for any waivers from the planning board through the site plans approval process. We believe that this project will meet all of the requirements of Section 4 of the zoning bylaw. And if we are proposing any work within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, and we're not sure that we are, if we are, we would have an application going before the Conservation Commission. And anything we are doing on this site, I think I can tell you from a Conservation Commission standpoint, would be an improvement over the existing pavement conditions that really have no treatment for runoff. It will be an improvement should we need to go to the Conservation Commission. So that is the permitting process, and it has been reviewed with staff. And I think at this point, I will turn it over to our project engineer to walk you through these plans.
Okay, take it off.
Good evening. Could you just identify yourself for us?
My name is Larry Beals. I'm with Beals Associates, and my role in this project is a little bit of site planning and engineering. So what I would like to do is give you a perspective on this site. And I think to really understand a site, it's good to take a step back and look at it in context. So the drawing on the left there, hopefully you can see. But I do have a laser, so as I point to various things, I'll use the laser to indicate what part of the site that I'm looking at. One thing that's a little tricky about these plans is our site doesn't have a true...
Can you pull the microphone up closer to you? Maybe you can't.
Well, I could slouch a bit if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
This is not the way I normally stand, but out of respect for the board, I'll talk into the microphone. So it doesn't really have a true north-south orientation, and sites that are on a diagonal are a little difficult to figure out. But you can see a north arrow in this direction, so the arrow is, or the laser is pointing in a northerly direction. So large features that you can see at about 20,000 feet in the air is the interchange at High Street, the clover leaves at Endicott Street, and our site, if it were better lit, is located right in this location, Route 128, and this is our property right here. So what I think is significant about that is where we are in the landscape and what surrounds us. So we've got the Danvers Port Yacht Club is over here, and then to the east of the site, generally this area is residential. To the north of the site, there is some residential, including the River Run condominiums. And to the south of our site are some residential dwellings and even a residential assisted living project that I don't recall. Brightview Senior Living is located in that location. So as shown on the air photo, our site's surrounded by a mixture of uses, as Nancy was talking about. So we've got the residential, there's a very strong retail presence between BJ's and then the Liberty Tree Mall in this area. And then we also have the Mass General North Shore Cancer Center, and then the large retail center directly adjacent to it that has the Market Basket. So I think in context, the proposed redevelopment of the Hollywood Hits site is ideally located between residential uses and commercial/office uses for a proposed multifamily housing. And on a lot of projects that I've worked on, I always like that transition of going from commercial to multifamily to single family. It seems to be a nice transition, and we're right in the center of that. Single family here, commercial here, and we're attempting to bridge that gap. So I will go up in scale a little bit, and this is looking at the site at a larger scale. And I'll direct you to the north arrow just so we have a better orientation. It's right down here. So north is pointing in that direction. I think for the purposes of the discussion, I'll refer to this area as sort of the east, southeast, north, northwest, west, southwest. This photo illustrates the site that Nancy described. We've got the Hollywood Hits site building right in the center and surrounded by a sea of asphalt. It was obviously developed under different regulations when boards like this, perhaps, and the Conservation Commission didn't provide the scrutiny that is provided today. So it's a very functional site. It's a entertainment site that requires a lot of parking and a lot of vehicle access on and off the site in a fairly compressed manner. And what's lacking, as Nancy mentioned, is landscaping. But what also is lacking is stormwater management. And this is a site where it's relatively flat, but it does pitch to the perimeter. So the stormwater lands on the parking lots, flows to the exterior untreated, and then eventually finds its way to the Crane River and other parts. So we're excited about the opportunities that this presents to bring it into compliance with the Stormwater Management Act. If you're familiar with this area, it's a very permeable sand and gravel, and so it's an area where we have tremendous opportunities to recharge a lot of the stormwater runoff and put it back into the ground and allow it to sustain the Crane River during drought conditions like we're experiencing today. The land uses are a little bit more evident on this. The boat dealership that Nancy referred to is located along the bottom of the plan. This building right next door it's like a split level. It's on the street side. It is one story that has a child care facility and I believe a physical therapy studio. And it appears like a single story. And then when you drive around back, there's actually a garage under the building, and it looks to be contractor's equipment in the back of the building. A lot of open space between us and the Crane River, which is undeveloped land, and then Route 128 more or less forms the northern boundary of the site. So that's an overview of where we are in terms of context, where we are in terms of existing conditions, and now I'd like to turn it over to Michael Wang so that he can explain the buildings and the architecture.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Michael Wang. I'm a principal with Foreman Place, which is a architecture and planning firm based in Newton Highlands. I've had the pleasure of working with JHR Development on a number of projects, similar projects. Attorney McCann and Mr. Beals have already given a pretty thorough overview of the site, so I'm not going to spend too much time with that, but rather I'll tell you a little bit about the layout of the building and some of the considerations on the architectural front. Just a couple of thoughts about the site before I do that. you know, the approach of Hutchison Drive, interestingly, sort of has you arriving at a corner of the site, sort of the south corner of the site, as opposed to something that would allow for sort of a frontal arrival. And as was described, you know, the 4.23 acre site really amounts to about 184,000 square feet. Today, that is 94% impervious, and our proposal is, as you can see in the site plan there, is to incorporate a substantial amount of green space in the form of a central courtyard and some surrounding landscape buffers that will essentially amount to about 48,000 square feet of green space and pervious space. So that's reducing the impervious area down to about 74%. From a site planning perspective, you know, this has interesting surroundings, as was described. You have a boatyard on one side, 128 on another side, and then the Crane River to the northeast. So that was a lot of what had to do with our positioning of the buildings sort of in the center of the site with parking around the perimeter. You'll notice that the courtyard space opens up towards the river, you know, presumably the quietest and most attractive exposure on the site. And we feel that this type of outdoor community space and the amenities that will be associated with it, particularly in this COVID era that we are in, is going to be a very desirable aspect to the project. The parking on the site is accommodated at 2.0, so there are 280 surface spaces shown for the 140 units. And there's a network of sidewalks and landscape paths both in the courtyard and around the perimeter of the buildings connecting to the parking fields. As far as the unit mix, quickly, as Attorney McCann mentioned, this is really designed to appeal to empty nesters and young professionals. There are no 3-bedroom units, and about 29% of the units are 2 bedrooms. They also have 2 baths, so that gives a lot of flexibility in how those units could be utilized. And just to talk and finally about the sort of architectural approach, we spent a fair amount of time looking through the Danvers character-based zoning district design standards and guidelines. And while they don't specifically apply to this project, we thought we would try to utilize that as a go-by. So you see sort of a traditional New England style architecture with a base, middle, and top approach that breaks down the scale of the building, has roof forms. In this case, there's a mansard approach to the upper floor with other roof elements, gable forms, and corner elements. The addition of balconies and porches and the use of double-hung operable windows, which are nicely trimmed out, all speak to the New England vernacular. And materials would include a stone base, clapboard siding, and architectural asphalt shingles for the top level. The building is current 42 feet to the roof, with some architectural features sticking up above that, and therefore conforms to the 45-foot height limit. And I sort of lastly, I feel like you know, the development principles outlined in the character-based zoning, you know, call for outdoor amenity space, a call for the design to be respectful of human scale, traditional New England architecture, and the integration of landscaping and streetscaping. And I feel like all these components have been integrated, and I'll stop there and welcome any questions. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
How's the mic? Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better.
All right. To wrap up on a couple of items, we did provide you with in the application package a traffic study. Normally, that's provided to the site, the planning board during site plan, but I thought it was important to provide that to you as part of this application because we wanted to demonstrate that there is a significant reduction in the volume of traffic on the proposed residential use versus the entertainment use that has been on this site. There is a reduction of almost 1,200 vehicles every weekday in the proposed residential use over what the movie theater use, which was a 7-screen movie theater and still is, that use generated about 1,200 more vehicles during the weekday than the residential use, and about 1,800 more weekend trips on a Saturday or a Sunday over what the residential use will provide. So not only is this an opportunity to create a use that's going to fit well on this site and in this neighborhood as a whole, but it is also going to result in a decrease in vehicle trips over what the property has seen under the theater use. With regard to, and you've got all of these drawings that we're showing here, with the exception of the aerials you do have in your package, as well as the traffic report. We are seeking a variance for the use, as I indicated, and this board has recognized 8 times in the past that this site does in fact, owing to its shape, it does have a hardship that is unique to this site. It is a 24.5-acre site. It is irregularly shaped. It is zoned for commercial purposes, most primarily retail type of uses, and the access to this site off of Endicott Street, which is the only access that it has no visibility to the retail sites, the retail use on this site, or to this particular 4.5-acre portion of this site is not visible from the access, which makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to develop for successful C3 types of uses. And this board has found that in the past. Use variance most recently for the boat brokerage, which did require a variance. The project is going to be an attractive and viable and needed use on this site, which is otherwise ill-suited for the standard permitted uses, and thus the 4.5 acres has been vacant now for over four years. This is an opportunity to improve this site. As you can see from the aerial, it's an unattractive site. It's a blighted site at this point, and it really needs some attention, and this is the opportunity to do that, which is going to bring substantial benefits, both aesthetic as well as economic, by creating this larger community within the 4.5 acres. The residential uses are going to support the businesses are going to support the residential uses. And this is certainly in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Finally, this use is providing additional needed housing in the area with various unit sizes, with studios, 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms of very modest sizes, and we did give you the square footage of those units, which is somewhat unusual in size and will be a welcome type of unit mix to bring into this area, as well as the affordable component. The variety of housing options provided and the modest size of these units will meet the housing needs for many and will create a diverse and supportive community within the site, which is all working in the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. So we do believe we've met the requirements for the use variance as stated in 40A Section 10. Finally, we are seeking, the findings are minimal. We have an existing condition along what I call the northern border of the site, where the parking lot and the landscaping is approximately 3 feet from the lot line. That is a non-conforming condition. We are proposing to alter that, but make it better at 10 feet off of that setback. So we are increasing our setback to parking and increasing our landscape area. It's an alteration of that nonconformity, and I've requested a finding for that, but we are improving it and making it less nonconforming. That is it for our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Attorney McCann. Before I turn it over to the board, can you just detail for me on the front page of the packet that says zoning table notes, can you get into note 1 and 2 a little bit, maybe expand on that so I understand those notes? 100 feet to residential use, 50 feet to R1A district.
This is on the plan?
It's on this.
Yes.
Yes. And then number 2, 50 feet to residential property, 20 feet to R1A district. Just trying to understand what those notes actually mean.
I have to use the mic. I'm going to bring
Yes.
it over here so I can see it. All right, so 100 feet to the residential use and 50 feet to the R1A zoning district. So the setback line to the R1A zoning district, the R1A zoning district runs along.
That's that 3 feet buffer, 3 foot side setback?
Correct. And we are meeting that.
Okay.
That 50-foot setback, and we are meeting the setback requirement to the residential property as well. Our lot line is this sideline here and this sideline here. The lot line for the property on the southerly side is way out here on the other side of the boat dealership, right?
Yep.
And on the easterly side, I guess we'll call it, is way down at Endicott Street. So the two lot lines closest to this development are 128
Yep.
and this lot line along the northerly border. We are meeting the setback requirements,
So 128's at the top of this drawing?
correct? 128 is here.
And
Crane
the
River
river's
is
on the right.
over here. And this is, there is a residential zone line there, and we meet that setback.
And that's 100 feet on the right side?
Yes,
And it's 50 feet on the 128 side?
yes, correct. There's your setbacks, and there's your setback lines.
Okay. Okay, I think I've got it. And just let me get my bearings here. Kathy, if you could help me out. Who's voting on this case, and where did I start last time? I think I started with Corinne.
I think you start with Bob this time.
Okay, so Corinne, questions?
I would like to go to the building
Corinne, if you could
inspector.
pull your mic.
Oh, sorry. I would like to go to the building inspector.
Yep.
Were you present at the planning board and technical staff meeting?
I was, yes.
When you discuss this project, this is a use variance. So once we grant it, if we grant it, it means it runs with the land, correct?
That's correct.
So let's say it goes to the planning board and for whatever reason, this developer backs out. We've already granted the use variance, correct?
Right, for the record, I would say that this project was presented superficially at best. We were here for a meeting on the 40R downtown, and this was presented at the end of that hearing. It really wasn't, I wouldn't say it was vetted properly or thoroughly. That was my take. It was kind of presented at the end of that meeting. So I would disagree with the...
I can't hear you.
Sounds like you said it needs a little more vetting, in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes. It was presented at the end of another meeting. We were here for the redevelopment of downtown, the 40R meeting. And this was presented at the end of that. I wouldn't say, I would term it as a superficial overview, not really vetted.
Does that answer your question, Corinne?
Yes. So I guess for me, I think that we kind of need to go through the whole process with the planning board, the technical staff, to see what their recommendations are. In our package for next week, we have a huge development that they want to put in on, you know, across the way. So we have these two big projects, and, you know, I haven't actually looked to see what type of relief they need, but I'm just concerned giving a use variance when all of these issues are still kind of up in the air. So I don't really have any questions, it's
Okay.
just my comments.
Can I respond to that? The,
I didn't say yes yet.
okay, I'm waiting, I'm anticipating.
I'm just worried we're gonna get down in a rabbit hole here if we, I think Corinne's more of statement than questions, but I guess go on this one and,
Okay,
all right.
I'll be brief.
Yeah.
The process is that we cannot go to the planning board for site plan approval until we get our use variance here.
Right, but we can ourselves, the zoning board, solicit the planning board for their input, correct? I think we've done that in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that, and, sure, I think that you
Okay, and
certainly
to
could do
Rich's
that.
point, I think-
What we did was we presented to give an overview, and it was an overview of this project, although we had all of the same plans here to get some input, and specifically, I wanted input on the process, to make sure that the use variance is how the planning staff wanted us to proceed with this. And that was what the guidance that we were given for that meeting. Site plan approval will come after the use variance.
Right.
But to your point, if you grant a use variance and another developer comes in or things change, what I would expect on a use variance is that you will incorporate the plans that we're presenting to you into the decision. So the use variance is for this
So no
set
matter
of
who the
plans.
developer, they would have to follow this plan.
That is exactly correct, or that would be a condition, that it's in accordance with the plan submitted to you.
So and you'd be willing to take that?
And I would certainly expect that.
You'd take that as a condition?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Corinne, additional questions?
That's all I have.
Ken, questions, not comments?
Then I probably don't have any questions.
Thank you. Jeff?
I haven't heard anything about what's going to happen to the signage that's
Jeff,
on the site.
pull your mic a little closer.
There is an
There's a
existing.
gigantic Hollywood Hits sign out
Hollywood's
there, and we'd
Hits.
love to see it disappear.
Mhm. I thought that might be what you would say. The applicant would have to work with the owner of the property. You know that signs have a great deal of value, but he has not come up with his signage package for what he would want for this site, whether he would want it for long-term or for during leasing or something like that. He hasn't come up with the proposal for that, and we were looking for some guidance. Obviously, he would like the sign for his use if that's amenable.
We would like some guidance on what's going to happen to that sign.
Additional questions?
I have no other questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Becky?
Okay, so obviously I'm always the parking person. I have all these questions on parking. I guess one of my questions was, did you consider putting the parking under the buildings?
I'm going to let the architect answer that question. We have indicated parking as required under the bylaw, which is 2 spaces.
But you have 74% of impervious space.
Right.
On this site, yes.
Right, I mean, I think one of the major considerations is the cost of doing structured parking. And sometimes on a site that has more topography, where you're building the structure into the hillside, it's a logical use of some of the lower levels on the site. But this is essentially a fairly flat site, even though it pitches pretty consistently today towards the highway. So I think this is kind of a cost consideration, and we were able to achieve the sort of open space qualities that we thought would be desirable. And
Okay.
yeah.
So the driveway is 24 feet wide, and being described as two ways, so it's not a one-way around driveway, you're gonna go both directions on the driveway?
That's correct, and
Okay.
24 feet is standard for two-way.
Okay. And the parking spaces, some of them are parallel parked and some of them are straight-in park. It was, it's not shown on the plan. Typically, we get stripes so we know how the parking is laid out.
They're pretty much all perpendicular spaces. to the-
Parallel parking or
Well, parallel. would be
straight
in-
into the,
Yeah, like you're turning 90 degrees from the travel
Okay.
aisle.
Okay.
There was a location next to each lobby area where we had been considering doing a drop-off that would be sort of more of a parallel pull-up.
Okay.
And then we were refining the site plan and needing to get in locations for, dumpsters and things like that. And the parking count is so tight that we ended up going with all perpendicular spaces.
okay. So you can stay there. So, what about visitor parking? You know that you're going to get these questions. These are my questions every time.
The bylaw doesn't require visitor spaces. It requires 2 spaces per unit.
Right.
We have studio units,
Yeah.
which don't require 2 spaces. And we have 1-bedroom units. Typically, those don't require under.
So there won't be assigned parking. So it's not like each unit will get their own 2 spaces. It's going to be open parking?
I don't know that we have that defined yet. What I suspect during the site plan process, where we deal with parking spaces, is it is entirely possible that the planning board would ask us to decrease the number of parking spaces, rather than having 2 spaces per unit, which is overparked when you're talking about studios and 1-bedrooms. But that's what the bylaw says.
Right.
And I wanted to be able to represent to you that we are not going to be seeking waivers under Section 4. We are meeting the requirements. But it could be that the planning board says to us, those are our requirements under Section 4. We could do with a little less parking, put some more landscaping in, and then we would do that during site plan approval.
And what about snow removal and the dumpsters?
We do show a dumpster. That location may change.
Where is that?
Bottom right. Trash recycle.
Oh, okay. 1 dumpster for 140? 2 dumpsters for 140 units?
And snow removal on the site plan, again, you don't have a Section 4 site plan, you've got a layout plan. The planning board requires us to designate snow storage areas, which we will do. And if there is a requirement under the site plan approval that if the snow gets to a certain height, you have to remove it from the site, which is all part of the standard general conditions under site plan approval.
It appeared to me that the boat business, the boat business is parking on what is the road, essentially. So that would have to be resolved with the boat company. It's a comment.
Yeah, and I think you're right.
When I went there, they were parked in the road, what would essentially be the road, I would say.
Exactly, and they won't be doing that
Yeah.
once there's a use there that requires
Okay.
that to be a road. But right now, there's nothing going on there, so they perhaps take some liberties.
Okay, what else do I have? Just a general question in terms of how did you come up with the number of units?
How do we come up with 140 units?
I like the smaller units, but I'm just going to
Right,
tell you,
right.
that's a lot of units.
Well, it was a multiple feasibility study where we basically wanted to test the capacity of the site. So once we had established that we were doing 4 stories because of the height limitations, and understanding that we needed to park 2 per unit just to show that we could achieve that, that was the number that we were able to get to, 140 units.
Are there any four-story apartment buildings in Danvers?
I don't think there is. Not that I know of.
No? Yes, I think there are.
You can, do you know which one?
Rich just said lots of them. I can picture them.
180 Newbury Street.
What is it, 180?
180 Newbury Street.
Okay.
That's the old
That's
swing
the
away?
only, swing away.
Yep, the top
Okay.
of,
That's the only one, yeah.
well, yeah, the state hospital.
Okay,
Is Danvers State Hospital's another?
Yep.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
I'm done, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Bob?
Hutchinson Road and Needham Road, they're private roads?
Hutchinson Road is not a road. Hutchinson Road is a driveway. Needham Road is a public road. That's why the address of this property is 51 Needham Road. Hutchinson Drive is the name that businesses use so that they can be found, but Hutchinson Drive is not a street.
Okay, so Needham Road begins at the end of Hutchinson Drive?
Yes.
All right, now, when you come out, they want you to go around BJ's. Is that part of Needham Road?
No, that's all part of the parking lot. That arrangement to go around BJ's had to do, the movie theater was there. Movie theater started in the 70s. When BJ's came in, during BJ's site plan approval, there was a condition put on that on weekends, when movie theater traffic comes out and it's busy at BJ's, and all the traffic from the movie theater comes out at once, they wanted that movie theater traffic to go around the backside of BJ's. And one of the conditions in the BJ's approval was that BJ's has a police officer out there on weekend afternoons to make sure people go around that way. That was a conditions of BJ's approval to accommodate the movie theater traffic, and that wasn't something that was required for this particular use.
So
It
that's
probably
part of the
wouldn't be.
driveway too?
Yes.
'Cause the
That
reason-
is the
reason I'm
backside
saying
of
it is-
BJ's.
Is all those speed bumps, you can't have
Right.
those on a public road, right?
I typically
I don't
not.
think so.
Typically not.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room here, the Crane River side, which is highly polluted. We all know that. It's carcinogens in there and everything. How do we know none of that has leached over into this property? You have a very extensive traffic study. Did it ever occur to somebody to check for the contamination of the land? You're going to be digging this land up and churning it up. I would think even for your own protection, you'd have a study.
It has absolutely occurred to us. We have conducted a 21E Phase 1 and I'll have Larry discuss the 21E studies, but absolutely.
So we've all seen the signs out there, and it's no secret that there's arsenic contamination. We initially commissioned LSP to perform a Phase 1.
Could you lean toward the mic a little more? Yeah.
So we commissioned a LSP to perform a Phase 1, and with full anticipation that the recommendation was going to be to move to Phase 2. And if you know Phase 1, it's basically a literature search, looking at what the record information is available and trying to assess whether or not there's any contamination on the site. The logical conclusion was we needed to move to a Phase 2, which involved a lot more testing and a lot more analysis. So they performed a number of test pits, or excuse me, they performed a number of test borings across the site. And if we could look back at the contamination exists on the adjacent property about in this area. Now, when we originally thought about it, if you remember the bigger picture, that beyond the top of the plan is where the Crane River is. It's all highly permeable sand and gravel soils. So our suspicion was, or our hypothesis was, that groundwater is flowing from our site onto the adjacent property. So we believed we were upstream. So they crisscrossed the site with test pits, with test borings, and each time they did a test boring, they put a well down, collected a water sample, so they tested the soil and the groundwater for contamination. And I spoke with the LSP recently about that, and their analysis indicated that the soils throughout the site are mostly clean. Likewise with the groundwater throughout the site is mostly clean. And then he did say that in this corner, they performed a test boring, and they came up with some arsenic contamination in that area. And he said, you know, it was what you would expect. It wasn't higher, and it wasn't necessarily lower than what was next door. So it was right in line. So it's clear that some of the contamination from the site had migrated into this area. Perhaps the groundwater flow was in that direction. So he said that where they did the boring was just off the pavement, and that's where the contamination is. And his recommendation is, in a situation like that, with arsenic, which isn't a real mobile element in the natural environment, it tends to stay put. The problem with arsenic is if you have kids that play in the dirt, ingest the dirt, or inhale the dirt, it can cause problems. But it has to be a very prolonged and chronic exposure to it. So you have to literally eat some of the dirt in order to get the contamination.
You're making me want to get one of those apartments.
So in an effort to make you want to get one of those apartments, what do you do with that? And that was my question to him, is how much of this is a problem for us? And the way you handle contamination is you can dig it all out and remove it, or you encapsulate it. And what you use for encapsulating that type of contamination is pavement. So what this information is helpful for us to do is to plan. So for example, you had suggested, had we considered underground parking? Given what we know as a consequence of the Phase 2 LSP analysis, we probably don't want to have underground parking because that would get into a big excavation, and we might run into some arsenic. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the site development, it's pretty much a flat site, and we always proposed to work about at grade or above grade. The ideal solution is just to encapsulate that trace contamination in that corner and make sure that we've got some pavement. In fact, the variance actually asked that we have the ability to place some pavement within that side yard, that setback area.
Can we get a copy of that report?
I just got it today, and I got the preliminary results earlier in the week. And I'll have to, it's not my work product, I'll have to check with the LSP, I'll have to check with the owner. And I'm not sure how proprietary it is, but I assume that if it's
well, I mean, if you're going to, what was the word you used, cover the arsenic?
Well, the word I learned was encapsulate.
Encapsulate the arsenic, and you said most of the borings were clean.
Yes.
Well, I use that word most. I mean, some weren't.
Oh, so the one that wasn't clean was right here. So out of this entire, all the borings throughout this site, the contamination existed right in that area.
Before I vote on this, I'd like to see where the contaminated areas are.
Sure.
Where the encapsulated areas are.
Or where they're proposed to be.
And let me tell you something interesting. I was on this board when that land next door was proposed to put single-unit houses in there. And the owner assured us that he had encapsulated all the contaminants. and it turned out, his partner died, he sold it to someone else, was gonna sell it to someone else, and someone else came in, did another study, and found the whole place was contaminated, including the river. So, you know, I would like to see that study and where the arsenic is gonna be buried, and, you know, people are gonna be living there.
Yeah, we agree, and you know, projects like this require financing. So people that are financing these types of projects want the same information that you're looking for.
All right, well,
Do you have additional questions, Bob?
I have no further questions, except that, you know, I don't intend to vote on this
Yeah.
until I see that.
Gotcha. Okay. I have a few. I just want to get my bearings a little bit on the top view of the site. So to the right, that's Hollywood Hits right now. Yeah. And the driveway that currently comes in is on the right-hand side. Is it the yellow line?
Where the laser is right now,
And so BJ's is south of this.
Real hard to see. You pass by BJ's on the left, and then you go
Correct.
straight in.
so our site is right here.
You know, I know where Hollywood Hits is, but I guess with your photograph to the left, I'm trying to understand this one, yeah.
128 is
okay.
all the way to the left.
All the way to the left.
There's
So
128.
where is BJ's?
It's, if you follow the
lower right.
pointer, it's about here.
It's two buildings back. You know where the new gas station is,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Then there's another building, and then the Hollywood Hits.
So BJ's is right here, right where the laser is.
Okay.
The roadway comes in front of that, and then enters, where it enters our site is right here.
Okay. And the new proposal, just show me on the photograph on the left, is gonna be larger than Hollywood Hits, correct?
I don't know how the square foot changes, but
Well, I
it's-
guess I was trying to understand, so, you know, with your laser, where roughly is
Down below.
the two buildings going to go when Hollywood Hits comes out?
Oriented like that, yeah.
Like that, okay. So 128's, okay. Okay.
So the Hollywood Hits building is about here.
And so BJ's is down below?
Yeah,
Way over there.
it's over here
Okay.
about.
Okay, you answered my question there. So currently, if I heard you correctly, Attorney McCann, there is no stormwater management on this site? None?
No, it sheets to the perimeter.
It just, okay. And how many parking spots are currently on this site for Hollywood Hits?
I
Approximately, I don't need exact.
500?
Okay. And again, I don't know who would answer this one. Attorney McCann, you mentioned in your narrative that Market Street in Linfield has done something similar to this. How many residential units are there? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
She doesn't know the answer, is what she said.
No idea, okay. Okay. And I think if I got this correct, you said if there were a reduction in a decrease as mandated by the planning board, if they were looking to see less than, I guess it's 280 parking spots, that you would pick up, you would continue to reduce the impervious surface. Is that an automatic, or is that just something you negotiate with the planning board?
Oh, that would be negotiated with the planning board, but typically what they ask, if they ask us to reduce parking spaces, or if we ask to reduce parking spaces, which we're not asking that, but if they ask us to, it's usually so we can add more landscaping.
Yeah, okay. I guess, you know, and again, I can save this for comments, but I can appreciate that you've gone down 20%, but it is kind of a pavement jungle up there, and it doesn't seem like enough for me, but
I would like to see it go even further. But I think that's all I had for questions at this point. I'm sure we have some neighbors that would like to comment on this. However, I do know, and at least Bob has requested additional information. So I will go out to the audience, but I don't know if we're prepared to vote on this tonight, because I myself would like to get some input from the planning board as well, maybe ahead of our vote. But I'll go to the audience right now. Yeah, right here with the hand up. Yep, come on up. Identify yourself and remove your mask, and if you could ask your questions through myself. Make sure you got that mic right where we can hear you.
Bill LaChance, 47 Needham Road.
Last name again?
LaChance.
Thank you.
The site is approximately a 4-acre portion of a 24-acre plus parcel.
That is correct.
It's a single parcel. It's in the C3 and the R1 zones, not just C3. And its access is through the R1 zone across Needham Road, which is a private way. And by the way, the abutters to the driveway have the right to block Needham Road. So I have 2 questions. Is the opportunity to increase income by the proposed use versus the allowed uses a hardship? And given that there is no such thing, or that I've observed, in a 24-acre perfectly rectangular parcel, where is the hardship for such a major departure from zoning that you would have to create 140 units? That's it.
Thank you. Attorney McCann, you want to respond to that?
Why are you putting it on? Take it off. Take it
I get so
off.
confused. I'm taking it off, I'm putting it on. This site is not perfectly rectangular. This is an irregularly shaped lot. And as this board has found 8 times in the past when you've granted variances, there is a hardship related to this site as it relates to the shape of the lot. It is zoned for commercial purposes, yet it is completely invisible to access points, the only access point being coming off of.
Additional questions from the audience? Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I have 3 questions, but I'm not sure if this is the board I'm supposed to be asking the questions of. One is, to me, is a big thing with.
Could you speak up, Bill? We can't hear you.
Yeah, hard to hear you.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
There you go.
My question was about the proximity to the gas station at BJ's and the LPG filling station that is adjacent to this property. Is that a problem, or am I not supposed to be asking you folks about that?
Fire department.
Yeah, I think that would be ferreted out with the,
So that'll come before another board then?
well, or the building inspector.
That was part of the question, was how does the gas,
I
the
can go to the
police,
building
the fire
inspector. Rich,
department
can you
feel about
enlighten
this?
us on that?
There's no issue with the separation between the propane tank at BJ's and the gas station at BJ's.
So residential is allowed within a certain distance to those
No,
items?
there's no issue there.
No issues. Thank you. Additional questions?
That's my question.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the public on 51 Needham, this proposal? I don't see any. Did I miss anyone? Did not. All right, I'm going to come back to the board. I will say this, though, Attorney McCann, this is a lot to digest. And I think, as Mr. Signetti has indicated, he's looking for a little more information, and particularly with contamination on this site. I think I'd like to get some input from the planning board. I will go through the board members and get comments to help you out with shaping this, if indeed it does go through. However, though, I think we would like to continue this tonight. So, but when we go to you, Corinne.
I think it's premature. I think we need to wait to receive both the report that Bob was talking about and input from the planning board.
Thanks, Corinne. Ken?
Now, will the input from the planning board resolve, like answer questions about like infrastructure for plumbing and that type of stuff? I mean, is there enough sewage piping and all that and water pressure and water and stuff to sustain all these units? I mean, who gives those answers about utilities and infrastructure?
I don't know.
That's done during site plan approval.
Town
Right, I mean,
engineering.
that's gonna come from engineering, electric light, those kind of questions.
That comes at the next step. Site plan approval is a fully engineered plan, which applicants don't typically prepare until they have their use in place. So we do the use variance first with the basic layout plans, which is what typically comes to you. And then the engineering goes into place for the site plan approval, and that goes through the various town departments. They all write recommendations to the planning board, and that gets worked out with the project engineer during the site plan review process.
Also, with the plan for housing, and everyone says more housing, we need more housing. Well, when have we reached this limit that we have enough housing in Danvers? I mean, what about that study? How many more units do we need? I'm just wondering, does anyone on the board know, or anyone, because everyone's screaming for housing. I just like to see some sort of, when are we plateaued, when is there going to be enough, when is enough going to be enough, because like Corinne was saying, we have something.
Well, are you in
planned.
favor of moving this project forward, Ken, or not?
Well, I just like more information. I don't know how we
Okay.
get that information of when is too much housing too much.
Yeah, I don't know if we can answer that. Additional comments?
Nope.
No, thank you. Jeff?
I like the plan. I think it's too big, but I like the idea that there's green space in the middle, because one view is 128, another view is a boatyard, and another view is a shopping area. So I think it's a great idea that the concept is the green space in the middle and the building kind of shielding you from all the other aspects of the site. I share Bob's concern about the groundwater and soil contamination, and the planning board comments I would like to see. And I greatly appreciate the 10% affordable unit component. I wouldn't vote for it without that. But I do think it's too many units. But we'll see what happens next time.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Becky?
I also agree with Jeff in terms of the concept. I like the layout of it and everything. I think it's too much on the site. I'd like to see it downsized to some extent. I'd also like to see something from Conservation Commission, since we do have a river that goes right by here. I don't know what our setback is to the river. Are we within the buffer area? I don't know. I'm looking for comments from Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and obviously what Bob is looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Bob?
Well, they covered pretty much, what I do like the concept of apartments down there. I think it's a pretty good use. And I have to say, this has got to be the first traffic study I've ever agreed with. That's it.
That's noteworthy right there. Attorney Buchanan, so, you know, it's a little bit of a slippery slope here, because this is commercial property. It's not zoned residential. So this kind of, to me, kicks it into a mixed use. I'm very interested in the information from Market Street in Linfield. I agree with my fellow board members that I believe this is too large. I don't like the project that happened on Route 1. I think it's too big. The Danvers State Hospital was an existing structure that I think they made work. That's probably an exception to me, but I think this amount of units is too many. I understand you're trying to maximize and make profits, but I see 140 units and 4-story high building. Yes, will it look a lot better? Definitely. I do like the design. I agree with Jeff and Becky that the layout's good. It has a nice look to it, but it just looks huge. And where that site's kind of up on a hill, it'll look even bigger. It'll look like Danvers State Hospital driving by. So that might be more of a Charlestown, you know, city-ish look to me, and I just don't want to see that type of height. I think, you know, you have an existing building that's 23 feet, and you're looking to go to 42. So those are my comments. I would like to also see some input from our planning board, as well as the stormwater and the arsenic reports to the degree we can get them. So,
Okay.
I think I've captured it all.
And I've been taking notes, as I always do, for when we come back. But I do have a question on process. We can't apply to the planning board until we have approval from this board.
Yeah, no, I
So-
understand that, but
so
this
what is-
board can ask that board.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
What is the process that
I-
the applicant has to
I'll
follow?
go to the building inspector, but I think I have it. We can craft a official letter to the planning board looking for their input, correct?
Yes, you can. We've done that in the past.
Yeah, so that's kind of something we don't do often, but I think in
Right.
this case,
We have
especially
done
where
it in the
there's.
past.
It's a
yeah,
big enough project, yeah.
It's a big enough project, and there's enough members here that want their input too. We've done it on smaller scales where, you know, if somebody wanted to do like a 7-8 unit thing, and they came back, well, maybe it's better at 6, that kind of thing, so.
All right, so this board sends a letter to,
Through the building inspector,
To the
through code
planning board?
administration, to the planning department.
okay,
Do I have that right?
and copies me, so that I know when that letter goes, and then I can send a set of plans to the planning board.
Yeah.
And then they'll,
Which
they have
sounds
to-
like they're kind of loosely aware of this project already.
Oh, they are aware of this
Yeah.
project. So, well, the planning staff, I won't say the planning board is
Okay.
aware of it.
So, yeah, so this
and
is
then
not
they-
planning staff, we're looking for input from the planning board.
You want info from the planning board, so we would then have to be on the meeting of the planning board. Okay.
And then that input will give us direction on this board, as well as the other information we seek from you, and then we can
All right.
talk about those aspects on a continued date of, how full are we, Kathy, on October 19th currently? I think we continued a few tonight, 3 tonight, plus what do we already have?
Well, the question is, how long is it gonna take to get?
It's only 2. And Rich, how long, if you had to guess, would it take to get the input from the planning board?
I have no idea.
It wouldn't.
Well,
take-
we can go November 2nd if you want to push it to that, and that gives
I-
plenty of time.
I think I'd like October 19th.
We'll see what happens.
And if we haven't met, or been able to meet, then I'll ask for a
We'll continue
continuance.
again, okay.
But this isn't something that would have to be advertised for the planning board, because it wouldn't be a hearing.
That's right.
so
This
it-
is
but it
just
would
one
be at
board
their
talking to
meeting.
another board.
Right. And with regard to Conservation Commission, I think perhaps to answer Ms. Kilborn's question, we would have our engineer figure out what the buffer zone is. I don't think we necessarily have to go to the commission, but we can figure out where the buffer zone is.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
so we
think,
can
if
tell
I
you that.
remember, I just want to make sure, I think, Becky, you were looking for more detail on parking? Loosely detailed, or are you good?
Well, if the,
Should put the lines down
Yes.
anyway.
We can put the lines so
Okay.
that you can see.
Just to give us a little more.
Okay.
Okay, so could I get a motion for a continuance to this to October 19th?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
second,
I get a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
See you
much.
on the 19th.
thank you. Thank you all for the information.
Okay,
Here we go.
wait a minute.
The last one,
We're just
right?
gonna wipe this public mic, I think, because it's the same presenter, so we can not wipe that one. Right? Yeah, so we'll just wait 1 second. Thank you, Dave.
Dave, can you do that one?
This one.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could read our next and last case.
Our last case tonight, MJP Properties, Inc., docket number 20-4884, requesting a variance and finding for frontage and lot area to allow construction of a duplex on a lot with an existing non-conforming single-family home in accordance with Table 2, Section 3.11 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 82 Sylvan Street, zoned R1.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, MJP Properties, Inc. With me tonight is Michael Panzero, the principal, and also Bob Griffin, who is the project engineer. And we are here requesting zoning relief relative to the property at 82 Sylvan Street. It is located approximately across from the Brookwood Industrial Complex at 75 Sylvan Street and located in the R1 zoning district. The applicant purchased this property about a year ago and began restoration of the existing single-family home that's located on the property. It's built about 1900 and had fallen into quite a bit of disrepair. It is located close to the front and the side lot line. As you look at the property on the left-hand side, it is a non-conforming single-family home as it relates to the front and side setback. This is a very large lot. It is perhaps looking at the assessor's map, it is perhaps the largest residential lot in the neighborhood with 29,154 square feet. The proposal is to maintain and rehabilitate the existing single-family home, again, that's located close to the street, to maintain the existing streetscape, and to construct in the rear, on the right-hand side, a fully conforming duplex, which placing 2 units in the back. Although the result will be a single and a 2-family, the combined creates 3 units. And as a result, under the bylaw, the multifamily housing requirements apply. And in the R1 zoning district, the required area for multifamily is 30,000 square feet. We have 29,154 square feet, so we are just 3% short on the area. The frontage requirement for multifamily is 125 feet. We have 124 feet, so we are just 1 foot short on the frontage. So we are requesting those 2 variances to allow us to construct the duplex in the back in conjunction with the restoration of the single-family home in the front. Although we are slightly short on the area, we think we certainly meet the intent of the bylaw. The Residence 1 zoning district requires in a multifamily development 7,500 square feet per unit, and we have 9,718 square feet per unit, so we significantly exceed the required area per unit under the zoning bylaw. In addition, the bylaw requires 1,000 square feet of open space per unit. We have 6,600 square feet of open space per unit. So while we are short on the technical requirement for area, we have more than the required area per unit and significantly more, 6 times more, the required open space per unit as required under the bylaw. So we certainly think that we meet the intention of the bylaw. At this point, I think I'll turn it over to Bob to walk you through the plan.
Thank you.
So in preparing the design, working with Mr. Panzero, and I know you've had a lot of projects with Mr. Panzero before, and I think he's won some historic renovation awards in Danvers. We've prepared landscaping plans and drainage plans, and basically the proposed duplex back here is going to have dry wells at each of the 4 corners to take roof runoff directly from the roof and put it into the ground, so to infiltrate the storm water. We also have an infiltration strip that's going to run alongside the entire length of the driveway, so that we're not trying to collect it in a number of structures and push it to any particular location. It's a fairly flat site right now. It's pretty much all lawn, and we're going to be able to infiltrate all of the stormwater runoff from our proposed construction through the dry wells and through the infiltration strip that runs the entire length of the driveway. We're going to be able to use the existing curb cut here for the most part. We are going to have to reconstruct it because there's some sidewalk unevenness, and it's not really suitable, we think, for handicapped passage. But we're going to keep the driveway in the current location, just reconstruct what's already there. The house that's under renovation is right here, the existing garage that goes with that house, and we have, you see, an ample parking area next to the single dwelling unit. The driveway comes back here for the duplex here. We've got each has a parking space inside the building. There's also parking out front, so there's plenty of parking in this particular area for the proposed use as well. We've been able to save a number of nice ornamental trees as part of our landscaping here, so some large trees in the back. We've tried to position the building in a way to maximize, the ability to save the mature trees. We are taking down sort of one crummy one here, and we're removing the pool that used to be in that area is, I think, already pretty much removed. But we're going to
talk louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to. I think the pool that used to be in the middle here has already been removed, but we're removing one small tree in this center area here, and then we're placing a number of additional red maples. I think there's some magnolia trees going in the back here, and some sweet gum trees as well. So the landscaping plan, I think, is fairly generous and does a nice job providing a little bit more screening than you might expect on a small project like this. I think that's sort of, we don't have any, no real street light kind of structures here. There's enough lighting coming off of the door lights or whatever that's going to be hanging on the building itself. So we're not trying to put any parking lot kind of structures. It's really simply a residential use and a residential looking project. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Is that it?
Anything else to add?
I'll just add very briefly, your package does include floor plans and building elevation drawings. It's a very attractive building. These are small units, 2,100 square feet. They are 3 bedrooms, so they are family types of units, which makes sense on this lot when we have 6,600 feet of open space per unit. We've got some nice outdoor space, and it's nice to have some housing for families in this area of town. It will fit in well. We are looking again for a very small variance in both regards, a small variance on the area and a 1-foot variance on the frontage, owing to the fact that the existing single-family home that we are not changing, owing to the fact that that is non-conforming, we do have to ask for a finding. And we have asked and included that in the application, although we are not changing, other than rehabilitating, we are not changing that structure. This will require a special permit from the planning board and site plan approval as well, once we are through the Board of Appeals and we receive the zoning relief requested. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney McCann. Bob, we'll start down there with you.
I think it's quite clear what you want to do. You want to put 3 houses where there's one. They're all going to be condos, I assume, right?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Thanks, Bob. Becky?
I don't have any questions. I know the neighbors are here. I want to hear from them, too.
Yep. Jeff?
I have no questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken?
I have no questions.
And Corinne?
I just have one, and this is for the building inspector.
Corinne, bring that mic up to you.
Sorry. I just have one question for the building inspector. So twice before in the past, this has come in front of this board seeking to subdivide this property, and it was denied both times. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. Is that correct?
I was not involved in those, but yes, according to the ZBA docket, yes.
Probably because they didn't have the frontage on Ash Street. I think that they're trying to cut a lot off and access Ash Street because it had very little, it has frontage on Ash, but it's very limited.
Okay. And for the duplex in the back of the property, is the entrance going to be on Ash Street?
No.
So,
The entrance, as Bob indicated, is over the general area of the existing driveway.
Basically a shared driveway, entrance-wise?
It'll be one driveway in.
Right.
That
So
will
it's
serve the
shared between the
existing
two
home.
properties.
And, correct, and the
Yeah.
duplex is in the back.
that's it. That's all I have for questions.
Thanks, Corinne. Yeah, I want to hear from the neighbors, too. I went to the site. I don't know if I have any questions. Presentation's pretty straightforward. So who's here to speak on 82 Sylvan Street? Yeah, come on right up. If you could identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Tina McKay. I live at 107 Ash Street. I have a 2-family home that runs along the backside of the property. Right now, the way that's planned, the tree that he pointed out, that's a mature tree that he's going to put the fence behind and keep that tree inside the property, that fence will be in my driveway. I will not be able to use the driveway. I won't be able to open a car door. I have a 2-family home. I'll be down to 1 parking spot.
Wait, say that again. You're saying that their fence would be in
Their
your
fence-
driveway?
Yeah, the property line runs right in my driveway, and he's putting that fence there. I won't be able to use the driveway. The fence also is planned to go to the street.
Right into the mic for us.
I'm sorry. The fence is also planned to go all the way to the street, which the one spot I will have left, I won't be able to back out of the driveway without seeing if anybody's coming down the street.
Well, I'm a little confused. I don't think they would build on your land, so there
It's
must be a little bit
The
of a...
property line is in my driveway. It's,
All right, well, I'll let, go ahead and respond.
I do have pictures.
Yeah, hold on.
So,
Just, yeah,
we had the property surveyed by LeBlanc Surveys, a professional survey, and I just looked up at the plan. In the vicinity of the tree back here, it does look like the driveway starts to encroach onto our property a little bit, but we have set the fence 1 foot on our side of the property line So it doesn't look like we're going to be placing our fence in any location that's going to obstruct her driveway. You know, to the extent that there's some other encroachment that I don't know about, I guess there's a possibility, but clearly we're not trying to stop her from accessing her property, and I think that we've set the fence at an appropriate location. We're trying to work around the tree a little bit too, but frankly, if the tree and the fence became a problem, I think we would just put the fence around the tree. I mean, or have the fence touch the tree or something like that. So we want to save the tree, we want to provide a fence for privacy, and we certainly don't want to block her from being able to get in and out of her property.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Additional comments from the public on, yep, come on up.
Hi, I'm Paul Tutko.
If you could just pull that up, yeah, there we go.
Hi, I'm Paul Tutko. I live at 108 Ash Street, which is directly across the street from the property. And my concern is...
Can't hear a word you say, brother.
Yeah, just step a little closer, we can't hear you.
My concern is, I was looking at the plans that they show. They have the sewer and water coming off of Ash Street to the building. Originally, they had a second condo on Sylvan Street side. What is to prevent them in the future coming back, looking for another variance to build on Sylvan Street and asking for access to Ash Street through their 18-foot piece of property, frontage on Ash Street?
Okay, let me see if I can understand what you said. So you want to know what would prevent them in the future from coming for another variance on this property?
Yes.
Well, I don't think anything prevents them. However, this variance would be very detailed in what's allowed here, and just like tonight, if they were to come before the zoning board again, it would be another plan. It would have nothing to do with this plan.
Well,
So
that's
it would
the
be voted upon separately, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
so there'll be no construction equipment coming in through, being accessed through Ash Street during construction?
Well, so I guess I'll ask the
Because they
attorney.
have an 18-foot, frontage on Ash Street.
18 feet on Ash Street.
Okay. Yeah, so, Mr. Griffin, maybe can you detail that a little bit?
So we're not planning to have construction access coming off of there, but we are going to be bringing utilities from the building out to the municipal water and sewer lines, and there's also potentially a gas line out here in Ash Street, which might be used to connect to the building. But we think, you know, this is the closest location to provide sewer connection from the building to the municipal system. It's the closest location to provide water service from, you know, the municipal system.
Okay, so your
to the building.
connection's gonna go to Ash Street.
So that's why they're going through that location. But it is sort of a narrow location, and one that we didn't really think was reasonable to put a driveway in, so we brought the driveway in the way we did.
Okay. Does that answer your question, sir? Yes? Okay, thank you. Additional comments on this project? Yeah, come on up. Good evening.
Evening. My name's Pam Wall. I live at 111 Ash Street, and I'm in a butter to the property that's being proposed. One of my concerns is the runoff. I know that there's a trench that's going to be built along the side of the driveway to catch the rainwater. The way the property is built, it's going to be sideways facing my property, and I'm concerned with snow plowing, with the snow being plowed directly up against my fence, with seepage coming into my yard, into my gardens. The other concern that I have is just the size and scope of the property and the loss of privacy looking down into my yard. It's going to be significantly larger than my home. The driveway will be sitting sideways, so with cars idling, the exhaust and the noise and the fumes coming directly into my yard, just the way that the driveway is facing.
Okay, this goes in front of planning? Could you speak to the, you can stay if you want.
Yes, this will go through site plan approval. with
Is
the
it planned to
planning board.
fence this property all the way around?
Do we show a fence all the way around?
And where's your property?
I'm
To the rear?
right there, so when.
Yeah, to the
My
right.
concern is if they're plowing
Okay.
their driveway straight out towards my fence, or if they're plowing their driveway, the snow will end up
Well, again,
between.
so that's not part of the purview of this board, but the planning board would require, they have to get site approval, which would detail snow storage and these types of things. So those would be things you'd
Right.
want to be at that meeting for.
We have to show snow storage on the site plans.
Yeah, so there'll be a detailed plan, and it'll be real clear for you.
And then the other question I had, initially, the developer came to the neighbors with a proposal to have a fourth structure on this property where the pool is. So if this variance is granted, at some point, is he able to then come back and put another
Again,
structure on?
it's a separate application. Right now, all we can look at and vote on is what's before us. And right now, it's just a second structure, a two-family home, and along with the renovation of the existing home that's on there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any additional comments on this? Yep, come on up. Hold on one second, we'll just wipe the mic for you. He's getting good at it.
I thought Dave was going to do this.
He always wanted to be a sound roadie guy.
Susan McDonald, 86 Sylvan Street.
Hi, good evening.
I'm right next door to the property. And I've actually spoken with Mr. Panzaro quite a bit. We've actually argued about what should go there and how it should be. And one of the things I'm concerned about, I know that you guys are going to grant him something. You look at the numbers and you're going to grant him something, right? So just similar to the other concerns that were expressed about having a fourth unit on that property, I mean, I think if anything is approved here, you've got to go ahead and say, no, but that's it, we're done.
Yeah, well, again, we can only vote on the application that's before us. I can't restrict this property in any way. We can ask the applicant to take it as a condition that it wouldn't be further developed, but right now, all they're asking for is a second building.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really
If a
need
fourth
to-
building's in the future, then it would be the same process. It would be before us on another case, and
They need 7,500 square feet per
Yeah.
unit, so they can't ask for.
they really can't ask for anything more than what they're asking for tonight.
Yeah, because
They don't
I
have
think,
enough land for 4 units.
yeah, and I think despite, you're going to give them something. I think it's important
Well,
to know.
I don't know that. I mean, it's
I don't
up to
know.
this board.
I don't know. I think it's important to know that none of the abutters want anything there. But it's going to happen. So we want to make it as palatable as possible for
Yeah.
as long as possible. And as I said, I've been speaking with Mr. Panzaro about what's palatable and what's not palatable. And, hopefully, ultimately, it will be palatable for all of the neighbors.
Absolutely. And that's what we also take into consideration if it's detrimental to the neighborhood. And I would encourage all neighbors and abutters, if it does pass this board, to follow it through to the planning board, because that will be more detail for where trees are, where landscaping is, fences, snow storage, this type of stuff, the more detail than we get into.
Right, right, of course.
Thank you. Okay. We got one more? Yeah, come on up. Thanks, Becky.
My name is Matt Wallace. I live at 113 Ash Street. It's kind of behind my property. The house was old and decrepit. It looked like it was falling apart. I'm for anyone coming in and making it look better, making the block look better, and making, helping our property values go up. A year ago, Mr. Panzero came and visited me and my wife. He introduced himself to me, and he gave us his card. And he told us we could let him know if we had any concerns or any issues. And so far, we don't have any.
So you're in favor of this?
I'm in favor.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, something new? Yeah, come on.
On that note, Mr. Pinzero has never come and talked to me. As far as being a good neighbor, so far he has not been. He has not come to see me. He's putting a fence in my driveway. A tree fell
All right,
last.
well, hold on, I want to, you keep saying
I
your
know.
driveway. There's a defined property line.
Right,
A-
the line
and-
is in my driveway.
Hold on. I don't know, we don't know where the property lines are, but they had it surveyed, and they're not gonna build on your property. So I can't make that any clearer, that wherever the property line is, and they've already stated that they're gonna set the fence even a foot back off of that line. So I guess I just can't have you come up and say they're building on your property, because they're not. Because they got a surveyed plot plan, and they're gonna move the fence 1 foot off of that. So I think they're taking the right steps. It may be just that over time, that driveway or whatever spot you're talking about, it seems like it's yours, but it really isn't your property. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay, thank you. A year ago, in the October storm, when trees fell all over Danvers, one of his trees fell. It's also right on our property line, fell into his yard. That tree is still there. So as far as what the other gentleman just said about he's been a good neighbor and taking care of things, from my side, I see it a little different.
Okay.
I just
Well,
wanted to
I have to imagine when this property, if it does go forward, that the people that move there will be, more accountable for those types of things. I mean, right now,
Well, if
nobody
they-
lives on the site.
Right, if they're condos, though, is he still the owner of it and still in charge of the property?
I think there was going to be a condo association here. Yeah, so there'll be, the 3 owners will pay into, and I'm sure all that will be addressed. Again, I think more with the planning board than us. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the board.
Listen, no noise.
Yeah, I know, it's because
Now
it's
they
late,
can
Bob.
shut it off.
Somebody pulled the plug.
She nearly has enough property to build it by right, so I don't have a problem with this. I think it'll clean that area up. I'll vote for this.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
They're gonna end up with almost 10,000 square feet for each unit, so there's 3 houses, 3 units, 30,000 square feet almost, so most of the house lots, I think, in the R1 zoning district are around 10,000 square feet, so this is typical for the R1 zoning district. I think that Mr. Panzero initially, from what I hear, wanted to go with more units, and this is only a duplex, so, and I think it's a good use of the site. Something's gonna happen there eventually, so I would approve this. I would vote for this.
Thank you, Becky. Jeff?
I'm very torn, because they don't have the legal 30,000 square feet, and we have 3 out of 4 neighbors that are very unhappy about this, but, yeah, I guess I'll wait and see what the other members think.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Ken?
I would definitely want them to try to preserve that tree and to listen to the other, some of the other things the neighbors were saying. But yeah, I guess they pretty much almost have the area that they need. And I would probably vote, I would vote for it, I guess, but I would just hope that they save that tree and then try to do as best they can for the neighbors.
So you're in favor?
Yeah.
Ken, thank you. Corinne?
I think I agree with Jeff. I'm having a hard time finding the hardship here. Just because someone wants to put another structure on their property doesn't mean that it's a hardship if they can't. And again, you know, that the neighbors really aren't in favor of this, and I think I would be a no.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. And I don't know, who was voting on this? Corinne?
I am.
So we have 2 noes. And you need a finding and a variance, is that correct? I would, I think what's there now, I think the improvement to the structure that currently sits on the property is a sign of things to come. I see the shortcomings on this lot as minimal, and I believe a second structure on there would not be detrimental. I think Mr. Panzero's done other projects in town that have come out, I think, very well, and I think it would be an improvement. So I would vote in favor of this.
Can I just make one more comment? I think
Yeah, go ahead,
that
Becky.
the existing single-family house was in terrible shape. It's looking much better already, and I think the new structure will be also better, which will improve the property values around the new structure. So I think from the neighbor's perspective, it will probably increase your property values to have such new and modern-looking buildings in your neighborhood.
And I will add that the neighbors, and again, you know, you guys live there, right? So we take your input seriously. And, you know, if this does pass tonight, you know, the encouragement is to go to the planning board and make sure that all your concerns are heard, and I think the applicant, you know, will adhere to them. But right now, sounds like you have the finding, but not the variance.
I'm uncommitted, so.
Well,
You're gonna
you
vote?
need to.
Approve it? What did he say, yes?
He's non-committal, and I need a vote out of him.
I think I will add,
I would vote for this.
All right, so you do have the votes.
thank you.
All right, so could I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the dimensional variance, excuse me, from the Danvers zoning bylaws, Section 7, Table 2, to allow multifamily development to have less frontage in area as shown on the plan submitted, owing to circumstances related to the shape of the land and the location of the existing structure. That would be the hardship. That's it.
I've got a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we have a finding, Bob. Yes?
Need a
Oh,
finding.
I didn't hear a no.
Oh, no, I was a no, I'm sorry.
Corinne's a no.
All opposed?
Yeah.
Aye.
No,
and,
everybody
if I-
gets a chance.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're right, Bob. It's late.
I move to grant the finding as the new building will not be substantially more detrimental than what presently exists.
I
I've
think
got
you
a
want
motion.
to say that the finding relates to the nonconformity of the existing building.
Okay, we have that captured, Kathy? The non-conforming.
Oh, for the existing non-conforming
Yeah,
dwelling
we're just increasing it, correct?
regarding front and side setbacks is not substantially more detrimental than what presently exists.
I've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, and opposed?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
See the building inspector, and neighbors, please follow this through with the planning board. Folks, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Amen.
And seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
How come the noise is gone now?